Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast QA live show number 245, brought to you by Menon. I don't know. Anyways, I hope everybody had a good week. I think my week was good. I'm kind of reflecting. Sometimes before I start talking, I kind of reflect, like, how was the week, in case someone asked me. And then in this case, I didn't think about it. I was too focused on forgetting that I needed to get my thermos full of water. So that's kind of what I was focusing on. Anyway, so if you're new to the show and it's your first time watching live, if you want to get my attention and talk about a subject or a question, if you could super chat, or if you could do a question first, that's usually the best way. I try to get to all the super chats, and I try to get as many interesting questions as possible. Of course, like I said, I can't get to all of them, but the better, the more interesting the topic, the more I try to grab it if I see it. And also, if you're watching the rebroadcast, I timestamp all of the things we talk about so that you can go right to them. And of course, if you're listening on the podcast, well, you just listen. I like saying that every week or all the time because the podcasts are edited, so they don't hear any of this. This isn't, if you're listening, you don't hear anything. Well, everything I'm saying right now, the people listening would not be hearing this. Just you guys, because like I said, we edit the podcast to streamline it a little bit. So it's because they don't have the beautiful view that you guys get. Notice I didn't imply me. I meant these beautiful guitars behind me. Okay, so a lot of subjects this week. The first we have to talk about is Reverb. Last week we talked about Reverb and 1099s, and I have some unfortunate news. It's an update from Reverb, and the update is somewhere. I put a link in the description in case you want to know, which is Reverb is 1099ing everyone. So whatever page I must have pulled from Reverb, because it was a page, I do have a screenshot of it, so I know it was a page that existed, where I got the information and sent it off to the accountant. Apparently, that is not the information, because I guess as of the 1st, because that was the 31st, I'm sure it changed that day. I don't know when it changed, but it changed. And so basically, they are going to 1099 you for $600 in gross sales. So the change is easy to remember. In 2021, if you sold more than $20,000 or did more than 200 transactions, you would receive a 1099 from Reverb. Now in 2022, if you sell more than $600 period for the year, you're getting a 1099 at the end of the year. And so it's up to you to track what you paid for everything, and if you want to claim that stuff and do all that stuff. So, of course, I hate to deliver even more bad news. By the way, this is also, I guess, effective at eBay, and it's just kind of, as you know, it's a law change with the government, and that only affects people in the United States. So is my understanding that I didn't qualify that, but it's what I read, what I understood, what I read, which is, everybody in the U.S. So, Robert says, I'm reading these out of order, but it just popped, and he says, elephant in the room, pretty silver sky behind you. Okay, so here's the funny part about this. I will talk about the silver sky, and then I'm going to talk about the silver sky at the end of the show, to keep you guys engaged. So you have to pay attention. Plus, as you know, there's 490 or 500 of us, and, I'll have to explain again anyways. Okay, so the Silver Sky deal is pretty simple. I was sent a Silver Sky SE, and I was one of the channels, or one of the people sent one. They sent them out, of course, as companies do to promote things, right, to send it out. And when I was approached, of course, I was approached as a review. Would I do a review of it? Of course. And there's a couple things I want to tell you. One was I was told I was not allowed to disclose the guitar and show the guitar until November 11th. Now I'm held to, or not November 11th. Whoa, that'd be a long time. January 11th. Sorry, January 11th. I'm still bound by that. So I cannot show anyone the video review of it. However, as you guys know, Guitar World leaked that it existed and put all the specs and all the pictures. If you guys want to see, it's on guitarworld.com right now. You can go to it and look at the 4 colors they have and all the specifications. So that information's out there. And I felt like I might as well have in the background because Paul Reed Smith Guitars posted a picture of me holding it on their Instagram. A lot of you guys sent me that picture like, oh, obviously you've got one. There's a picture of you holding it. So yeah, at this point, this is what I'm allowed to do. That. So there you see it. So there you know I have it. And at the end of the show, we'll talk about it again. Talk about only the things I'm allowed to talk about. Part of this, you gotta understand. Part of this is a mutual benefit agreement, which is essentially this: I'm not being paid, as always, from PRS. I've never been paid from PRS. PRS will send me products. Sometimes I get to keep them. Sometimes they go back. That's my deal with Paul Reed Smith Guitars. When they send stuff out, this guitar was sent to me under the understanding that if I liked it, I could keep it. And if I didn't like it, I could send it back and they would send something else out, maybe another SE or something. So that's what they offered me. And I said, okay, so to give you guys a review of it, I plan to do a full review like I always do, where I take out the pickups. We're going to look at everything. So there you go. You'll know everything. I'll give you the specifications, comparing it to the USA one. And there you go. Jeff said, what color is it? I don't know what color it is. I should. You know what's sad is there's 4 colors, and the red one's called Dragon Fruit, and that name was so cool that I was like, I love that name. So I forgot what this is. Obviously something blue. It reminds me in person, a lot of you probably think it looks like gray. Some of you guys probably think it looks like Daphne blue or sky blue. To me, it reminds me mostly of that color, that gray blue you see on cars now. Like sometimes you see, I think Toyotas have it, or maybe Dodges, but you know what I mean? There's this primer grayish blue you see, that it reminiscent of that color a lot. Okay, so like I said, we Guitar Gear says, am I keeping it? I'll tell you what, Guitar Gear, I will definitely answer that at the end of this show. And again, just because we know we'll have the maximum amount of people on, I know it's clicky to kind of make you guys wait to the end, but I really want as many people on the end as possible when I say all this. Oh, somebody says Stone Blue. That sounds right. That's right. Okay. And Greg, like I said, I will definitely get to that. So let's not talk about that. Let's go into other stuff, but we will talk about it at the end of the show. Everything I'm allowed to say up to this point. Dave Alexander was one of the first questions. He said, hey, Phil, I bought a Firefly Les Paul Burst for $187, which is crazy money nowadays, right? Remember like a couple months ago, we thought that was cheap, and now that just seems like that's free, $187 in today's market. It is an awesome guitar out of the box, but the humbuckers suck. He said suck with all capital letters, which is my assessment of that guitar as well. They are muddy, microphonic. Yep, mine were so microphonic. It was hard to get through that video. They were feeding back so much. Suggestions for inexpensive replacements. Sure, there is a lot of great inexpensive pickups, but this leads to a really important thing to talk about, which is 2 things. One, don't forget used pickups. I keep saying this. Everybody's always got suggestions of all these companies that make pickups. You got to understand, sometimes if you're just out there looking on your Craigslist, looking around, used pickups are fantastic. First of all, very rarely you're going to find a dead pickup, so no issues there. If it doesn't have lead wire, you can always extend that. Again, little soldering skills takes you a long way. The other thing that's important about used pickups is that you'll usually find somebody who's just trying to dump them. I find them all the time, dirt cheap, right? Seymour Duncan JB Jazz said, I find them all the time, dirt cheap, even in today's market. So don't forget to do something like that. And I'm a big proponent for like Seymour Duncan 59s, for that kind of guitar. You're going to put them in Les Paul, get some DiMarzio PAFs. I love it when everybody gets mad when I call them PAFs. Remember, I only call DiMarzio PAFs. It's PAF, or if you're saying DiMarzio, I say PAFs, which is because that's its trademark name. It's a PAF. It's trademarked. You can look it up. It's trademarked. And I like to say it because I think it's funny. But anyways, so don't forget used pickups, because there's a really good score there. In fact, think of this. I have pickups in my shop. As you know, I have tons of pickups for research and stuff. And I have like amazingly expensive, like bare knuckles and I'm trying to think of other examples, wolf tones and all kinds of stuff that I picked up dirt cheap. I mean, dirt cheap. Sometimes I'm into a pickup for $20. So used pickups are a good way to save some money and get something. Otherwise, yes. Then I did a review of some PAF style pickups that were, I think, $99 for the set out of England. Definitely check out that video. Definitely check out those pickups. Like I said, I really, really like them. I will tell you that they are a small shop trying to get business. Kind of the same thing, trying to sell you the world for a nickel to grow market share. And man, when you find those companies, they're a lot better than companies who don't need your business, because the ones that don't need your business aren't going to kind of give you the world for a nickel. So something else to think about. for pickups. But one thing I want to tell all of you is pickup prices are going up. They are going up. As you guys know, I make pickups. I do it in a small level. It's just in my shop. And man, the prices are crazy. And of course, I won't go into detail, but you know I'm friends with some pickup manufacturers, some bigger, some mid-sized, some smaller. And let me tell you, there's a consistency across the board that prices are going up on pickups. And I know you guys are used to right now prices going up, but you have to understand there's two things going on simultaneously with price increases and inflation, okay? As you guys have mentioned, and I'm sure a lot of people will say this, is that there's like, oh, they did a price increase 4 months ago, and then there's another price increase. Look, some companies have not done the price increases. They're holding back. So when they do it, it's gonna feel like a hammer coming down. Some companies have put out small price increases incrementally and have decided that a lot of them have decided that the next one just has to be the big one, or this one that they're doing now is the big one, so that they don't just keep hitting you with it because they're trying to anticipate what's coming in the future. And a lot of companies, and this is important, a lot of companies understand that there's a math to price increases. What I mean by that is, as you increase price, sales drop. That's just part of how it works, whether it's inflation, whether it's just anything else. And so at some point, it has to equalize. And there's a math that you can do that says, in theory, let's give you a great example. Let's say if I raise something from $60 to $80 and I drop in sales 20%. I'm just giving you general or round numbers. These aren't exactly how this would equate. You might do the overall average and figure out that you come out the same, you're flush. But there's no room for error in that. So sometimes what they'll do is they'll figure out like, well, if we increase from $80 to $95, we'll drop 25%, right? But if you look at what they charged more versus what they dropped, they come out ahead. I have firsthand experience in this. In the recession, I had to raise lessons. At that time, we were $80 a month for lessons. We had 260 students, I think, at that time. And we were like, what are we going to raise to? And we wanted to raise to $90. And we did the math and we did exactly that. We were like trying to figure out who's going to leave and who's going to stay based on this increase. And then we were able to calculate like a little bit more increase saves you. And it sounds horrible. Don't get me wrong. I feel bad saying it out loud right now, but you understand business is just business. Sometimes you gotta survival. It's a survival thing. How do you not lose not only all your students, but how do you not lose your teachers and everybody? When people work for you and they rely on their income for you, you got to do more than just worry about yourself. You got to worry about the whole picture, not only the students, but teachers. And so same thing with any business. These business owners right now, you can tell they're sitting there and they're contemplating, okay, what if we raise this? Is this what's going to be? And then, so what I'm basically getting at is, I think you're going to see not only the price increases you're seeing right now, but some are going to be a little heavy because they're kind of anticipating where they're going to be. Pickups are definitely seem to be the ones really affected because a lot of those materials are tough to get. I've had all kinds of problems with getting materials for pickups. It's been its own personal nightmare. So, there you go. And it made much worse by I had a great idea for first quarter this year, and that did not come to fruition because I can't say not yet, but I had an import company come to me and decide they're a fan of the show, and they were like, man, they bought a set of pickups, which was very kind of them to do to support. And what happened was they liked them so much they're going to put them in a whole line of guitars. So they sucked up a crap ton of my inventory that I could make. So I'm really sick of looking at winders right now. Like I said, winding pickups is like fishing for nothing. You're just holding the fishing line all day. So there you go. That's what I think about your pickups and pickup prices that you need to know about. Okay. Another thing that's interesting is something to talk about since we're talking about price increases, and definitely you've seen them across the board. Somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Susan may have mentioned, Jackson increased price like $200. Definitely price increases. Obviously, if you've seen them on Sweetwater, you've seen them on Guitar Center, you've seen them everywhere, price increases. But this is another time to remind you guys that when a price increases are rolling out, whether it's the inflation, whether it's the 1st of January, which is a very common thing to happen every January, regardless of the world, it's a good time that if you're thinking about buying stuff to go ahead and find it now in stock with dealers now and find dealers who are willing to honor old pricing. It happens all the time. You basically can avoid the price increases by saying, hey, you have one in stock now. Obviously, they may have bought it at the old pricing and they may be willing to let it go for the old pricing. So look for the old pricing. That's like getting the savings because you don't pay the new price increase. And if it has a price increase, maybe talk to them and see, do they have anything that they can do to match the old pricing? And, like I said, a lot of times they're going to be like, yeah, of course. Sometimes no, because it's a supply demand market. But a lot of times they're going to be like, sure, we could do that for you. Right? Save you 10%, get it back to the old price for you, make the sale. It's tough right now because right now, as we see, I keep hearing terms like boom market, guitar boom. Those are true, but it doesn't seem like it's the market it was a year ago. Not what I've seen. It's not selling like it was a year ago. It sure is still astronomically huge. It's a big, big selling market, but it's not the market it was at the end of not last year, but the year before. And but still, obviously, supply chain issues and other things you're seeing. The prices are hitting us hard. But with the sales market, I think a lot of dealers and manufacturers could use the sale. I keep talking to more and more companies. I'm surprised to hear they're not doing well. I'm really shocked. I've talked to more companies in the last 60 days, basically talking about the fact that they're not doing very well. Which shocks me because I was like, oh, everybody's doing great. And they're like, well, actually, we've been dealing with all these issues and we're not doing great. So some companies are not killing it right now. They're hurting. Okay, I'm just looking for what you guys are talking about. I'm laughing at all the comments about the Silver Sky. Maybe I shouldn't have put it in the background. I didn't think it was going to be this distracting. And then Brad Guitar Miller says, do you do tele pickup set with humbucker? I do not. I decided that I'm going to stick with, I have P90s that I do. Those will eventually go away. I just do the humbucker set and the Strat set. It's like I've said before, I like my P90s. I like other pickups I've done, but my humbucker set and my single coil set, I feel are unique and I like doing them. And it's, this is like anything. I got to like doing it. Okay, Bullets for Teeth says, do you think the inflation fiasco may push Guitar Center over the edge to close down stores? Well, they just opened 2 new stores. This is the trick. I don't know. Talk about something that none of us can get our heads around. You go to car dealerships, there's no cars. I mean, it's weird to me. And everybody's like, oh, it's a boom. I'm like, yeah, but how do you make money if you don't have anything to sell? Everybody's like, oh, they're selling it because it's all sold out. I'm like, but they don't have anything now. Like, I know, like if I walk into a business, how many times I've walked into Guitar Center, and I know they're increasing the supply again because I've seen the Guitar Centers getting more and more stuff. But I think about the fact that I walked into stores in the last year, all kinds of music stores, and you walk in there and the supplies are so low, and everybody's like, oh, it's because it's booming. But I'm like, yeah, but I walked down to like 8 stores and I didn't buy a single thing because there wasn't anything. So how many people are doing that versus how many people are buying? You know what I mean? There's got to be I don't want to say a penalty, but there's got to be a backlash. There's got to be a problem to not having product to sell. It doesn't seem like that, selling out is the best problem to have. It's not a bad problem. It's not the best problem to have. So I don't know what it's going to do to Guitar Center. I don't know if it's going to have a negative effect. Inflation doesn't have a great effect on anything. In my experience, and I'm, well, if you have stuff, it improves that. Like I said, if you have instruments, like right now, because again, we just talk about guitar stuff here. So if you have guitars right now that you've already purchased, you can already see that there's a benefit to having them. Think about this. There was a guitar. I don't want to say which one. There was a guitar that I decided I was going to sell earlier this week. It's kind of a funny story. So I bought it last year, new. And I go, earlier this week, I go, I don't know, maybe it's time to let it go. I'm not really enjoying it. I'm not loving it. I look it up, used all day. They're going for more than what I paid for it new. Not much, maybe $150, $200 more than I paid new. And you think my first reaction, at least I would have thought my own reaction would be like, wow, I'll get out of it flush and maybe put $100 in my pocket. That's great. I played a guitar for a year and I made $100. It's not the end of the world. But instead, my first reaction is, nope, that's going in a case in the closet because it's not going to go down. It's just going to, right? At this point, it's like putting it's like putting gold coins away or something like that. It's just, so. Okay. All right. All right. Oh yeah, and then Lunamatic said Guitar Center knows exactly how much inflation will impact, the same way Phil explained the pricing change. I would agree. I would agree that they're kind of on it. Here's what I will tell you. This is what's scary and for small businesses. For inflation. And this is something to talk about, and then we'll go to the next guitar-related subject, but this is still guitar-related subject. I want you to be aware of this. A lot of times, the smaller businesses are the ones that will take the pummeling from inflation more than anyone else, because of the fact that when what's going to happen now, and again, this is only from my experience of when I was doing this, is that the margins you're used to. In other words, you have these margins and maybe you get free shipping, as a store. Let's say maybe you buy, I'll pick on Fender because that's a good company to pick on because they're a good company for product. Let's say you buy $6,000 of Fender product and Fender wraps it into a free packaging deal or free shipping deal for the dealer. We're talking about dealer, right? Shipping on that could be $260. That's back in the day, but $260, that's margin in your pocket. Right? Because the customer's going to pay their price, you paid your price, that's $260 in your pocket. As inflation comes in, as the demand stays strong, inflation comes up, what's going to happen is the manufacturers, they find they don't need smaller dealers as much, and that's kind of harsh, but it's kind of true. And a lot of the smaller programs are the first programs you see disappearing. So in other words, maybe where there was like buy 6, get 1 free, or free freight, or 10% back at the end of the year, those things start disappearing very quickly. Meanwhile, bigger entities like Sweetwater and Guitar Center, specifically, those kind of size stores, they have the buying power to hold their deals, okay? Or if they're losing some of that deal, the deal is minimal, comparably speaking, right? So, and they also can use buying more to keep their pricing down. It's a perfect time. And also that segues to another part that's important is bigger companies, especially corporate style companies, do not like not losing money or decreasing profits. They don't like not having growth. So their logic is growth is growth is growth. So if it was a boom year and now we slow down and inflation comes up, what's going to happen is they're not going to want to go down. They're going to want to increase from the boom year. And so they are going to do that. And the problem is, when we were all buying, the pie was so huge. As the pie shrinks, they're going to keep their pie size the same or bigger, which means they're going to try to take business from other smaller businesses. The reason I tell you this is a great time just to remind you, mom and pop shops, this is when they need you the most. This is probably when they'll give you the best deals. So it's like, I'm not just like preaching for the whole save the small business. This is all about you too. You can save more money this way. You can get better deals. You can get better service from smaller businesses because, like what I said earlier, it's the businesses that need you tend to service you better than the businesses that don't. So think about that for a second. Like I said, be aware of that. It's just some good. Actually, you know what it is? That's exactly what I do. That's it. So I'm just giving you what I do. So it's not even a theory. It's just what I've been doing. Lunamatic says, love the Valiant video this week. Is that one a keeper? As is, what would you have changed? Thank you, Lunamatic, for watching the Valiant video. Yeah, it is a keeper. Here's the deal with the Valiant guitars. I didn't say it in the video, and I was thinking if it came up in the live show, which it did. It's something I should ask you guys about. I have kind of like a standard way of doing things in my videos, which is like a product comes. The way I look at things, regardless of law, the way I look at things is if a company sends me a product, if a company gives me a product, if a company loans me a product, if a company gives me a discount on the product, if a company, I'm friends with somebody in the company, if the company has supported me in any way, you know what I mean? With kind of like help, either discounts or whatever. If there's any kind of connection to the company, I put that product provided logo that I've been using since pretty much my channel started, which is that logo that I created a version, but like I said, a viewer created that better looking pedal version. But I put that up there way before YouTube did the, hey, paid sponsorship stuff, right? I just started putting it there saying I wanted you guys to be aware, even though I say it in the videos, because I'll say like, oh, this was sent out by this company or whatever. It's like, I wanted you to know like where it came from. The Valiant thing's kind of an interesting deal because it falls into a weird world that I live in. And this is what I'm saying. Valiant, like I said in the video, not only did I say Valiant sent it, but I also said that they were sending a lot of guitars to channels because this is how you get the information out. I mean, it's just true. There's this, guitar magazines are just not effective anymore. I still like the guitar magazines. It's not about them not being good. It's just not the source of information we're all, going to. And you gotta understand the music industry is small, so it doesn't do billboards and movie placements and commercials on TV. I mean, this is it. You find out about gear through the NAMM show and music magazines, and now it's pretty much YouTube channels. It's where the driving force of this is. So why I tell you that is I disclosed that in the video, but what I didn't tell you in the video, and it wasn't for any reason other than I just it wasn't in the flow of the conversation I was having with the camera. They didn't ask me to do a review. They didn't ask me to do a video. They sent that guitar under the kind of the not assumption, under the I'm trying to think of the word. Why can't I think of it? Put you guys in suspense. Under the idea that I would do a Zoom call with them. Like I said, they started that company in June of 2021. They are members and parts of another guitar company that kind of started a new guitar company, and they sent me a guitar. Basically what they asked for was, if we send you a guitar, will you talk to us about it? Like, give them feedback. So I did that. So I didn't have to do a video. There was no requirement to do a video. I mean, I don't have to. So, but I did it. I did the video because I wanted to, and I thought it was a cool video, and I like the guitar. And so I asked you guys, like, does that stuff even matter to you guys, or you don't care? Right? So back to your question, do I like the guitar? Absolutely, I like the guitar. That's why I did the video. Is it a keeper? It absolutely is a keeper. I absolutely love it. I've really been playing it a lot. Would I change anything? No, because everything I like, there is, I like. And the only thing I will tell you is a lot of the comments in the video, of course, were very positive. There's always a couple comments that are negative. That's fine. Sometimes when I say mean negative, I don't mean critiquing. It's okay to critique stuff, but sometimes people are just jerky. But the one thing I will tell you is I understand when people are like, it's an expensive instrument. It is. I mean, I could tell you right now, if they could get it sub $2,000, I think they would kill in the market. $1,699, that guitar would kill. But I understand that's a hard price to hit. And not to segue too much into another subject, but I have some super awesome news that I can't wait to share with you guys about a company that did. They sent me a product to review, a different company, and it was the first time I've done this. What happens sometimes when companies send guitars to review, I do the videos, but sometimes I'll go, hey, here's the issue I come across, and I let them know. In this particular case, their issue was price. It was just too obnoxious for what I hate to say, like, because it sounds hurtful. It's just, there's no way you guys were going to buy this guitar. Funny story was the owner took the information well, although I could tell he was upset. Not angry at me, but he was upset. He was clearly upset and stressed. And, told me that, he didn't know what to do. And what happened was, while I didn't do the video, and I'll give you the tease. It's a guitar that you guys saw constantly in the background of this in the live shows. But here's why I'm not telling you the answer, but I want to tell you the story because it's a cool story. So what happened was, he basically told me, there's no way to do this. And, but thank you for the feedback. And I didn't do the video. Basically I was like, I can't do it. There's just no way. I told him, nobody's going to buy your guitar. And I'll just be standing there going, it's, here's why. And this is why I'm telling you guys, I wouldn't buy the guitar for that price. There's just no way. And as great as it is, I just don't think the market demands the pricing he got. So here's what's funny about that. I guess he sent some out to some other channels, some bigger channels. They did the videos of the guitar. and they did a great job, but he basically didn't sell any guitars. So basically, I mean, he sold a couple, but he didn't sell any. So long story short, he sent me on New Year's Day a great email out of nowhere. I got it. I woke up to it, talking about starting your year off amazing. The email was, Phil, you're absolutely right. And here's the new pricing on the guitars. And here's the adjustments we did to help get the pricing, which were very minimal. And he went one step further. He said, I'm going to send you the new version of the guitar. So when you do the video, you can hold both versions and show what we had to change and how we got the price down. And now his price is so competitive, it's going to be disgusting. And that's why I'm not telling you about it, because stuff like this, I want the video to hit right, because it's a great deal, great price. So like I said, I just like to tell these kind of stories. These are the background stories. So Bullets for T says the guitar market is flooded with tough competition. I absolutely believe that to be true. So, I absolutely believe between used gear, between all the brands, it's funny to me, no matter how big this boom is, it's like I kind of remind friends that are industry, everybody's a genius in a boom market, right? In a bull market, so to speak. Isn't that the saying? Like, everybody's a genius in a bull market, something like that. Everybody's a genius, right? Everybody's just product is amazing. And I'm like, but that's what happens when everything is selling. But as it constricts back and it slows, man, it's going to be interesting to see who's gonna feel it the first. You know what I mean? Because there will be some companies that feel it real fast, and some won't feel it at all, because it's the stuff. Michael said, so Mo at Inksheet lowered the price. I knew you guys were going to do a guess. That's not it. Thanks for the guess, though. Vim69 said, cool story, Phil. Yeah, again, I hate being cryptic like that, but it's you'll see. Trust me, if I thought the video wasn't coming out for a month, I wouldn't tease you with it. It'd be probably before next show, you'll have the video. Mike, who's a member, hey Mike, he says, have you noticed you don't see a lot of used Rickenbacker guitars? Is that because they are made that well and people don't let them go? It seems they hold their value pretty well. You agree? Question mark. I have a limited understanding of Rickenbacker guitars. They are not, I was never a dealer for them, so I don't have any backstory on them. You know what I mean? I didn't work with them in that capacity. I've only worked on a few, and I've owned one. You know what I mean? And I kind of regret getting rid of it. But like I said, the neck was just really small, and it just didn't fit my hands really well. But it was a great guitar. What I will tell you about them is, what I've learned from observing them as a company is they're really a no BS kind of company. They really just make, they don't do imports. They don't try to find a new sub-tier model to appeal to somebody. I think they're just really a company that knows who they are. They know who their customer is, and they're not dedicated to growth. Look, a lot of companies that have tiers, there's a coincidence here, okay? It's not a, what do you call it? It's not proof of anything, but it's a coincidence. Every time I hear a company got an investor, all of a sudden there's tiers of guitars. In fact, trying to find guitar companies that don't have investments, and again, we're not talking about public companies, we're talking about companies that have investors, right? Paul Smith has a lot of investors. There's an investment in that company. Lots of tiers of prices guitars. Fender, of course, lots of investors. Big investment companies. Gibson, investors. Tiers of pricing guitars. When you see a lot, and there is exceptions to this rule, but when you see companies where all of a sudden everybody's got to get a piece at the end of the year, you know what I mean? It's not like an owner who's just like, okay, if I make my salary from my people and me, and I get to build guitars for a living, this is the greatest dream come true. It's somebody who goes, oh my goodness, if I don't get a dividend for the people who invest, they'll ask for their investments back. By the way, this is a real common story, unfortunately, in our guitar industry, which is investors are like, I'm done with this, because they're sick of 5 years not getting a dividend. They got to find a way to make money. And so you make money by making multiple priced products. And there's some benefits to that. As you guys know, you get a great guitar that's affordable, and sometimes there's drawbacks. And one of the things about Rickenbacker guitars is they seem to be one of those companies, like I said, they know who they are, they know who their customer is, and that's their thing. David Elfson says Sweetwater has a lot of Ricks. Again, yeah, same thing. I mean, Ricks is, again, Rickenbackers are, they're not trying to clear them out. I think if they sell less, they make less, and they go with that. I don't know. Again, this is just a guess. It's one of the few companies I've never worked with in any way, in any capacity. I've worked with so many companies in some capacity, whether it be through a dealership or through some kind of, YouTube interaction, or through like some kind of consulting or working with a company that works with them. I mean, it's just all kinds of things. I've worked with so many companies, so I kind of have some understanding. And it's one of the few factories, like I said, I've been to 33 factories. I was hoping, before COVID, by this time in my life, I'd be like 50 factories was my goal. I want to go to 50 factories and shops, but I've been to 33, and Rick's are not one of them, but I would love to. Oh man, if anyone ever, like if Rickenbacker ever emailed me and said we'd like to come to the factory, I'm there. I'll pay. I pay for everything. I'll pay the flight. I'll pay the hotel. I'll just go and make videos. There's one thing I love is going to factories and shops. I love it. I love it. There's no, that's Disneyland for me. My poor family can tell you, before YouTube even, and you post YouTube's worse, but before YouTube, if we went anywhere, if there was a guitar manufacturer in that city, state, anywhere we go, I mean, this is horrible to say, I've had my family sit in the car. Not in the heat. Don't get dramatic, but sit in the car for hours while I did a factory tour or a shop tour. They love me, I guess, and I have to do it. I'm more compulsive about that than anything else, because I like to see how everybody does things and what they do different and what they do alike. It's my favorite thing. And I've seen every factory tour video on YouTube. I mean, all of them, to the point where I start watching them over and over again. Let's see. Jay Jennings says, I think they're based in Santa Ana. Yeah, I think so. I mean, everybody's in California. Okay, here's a quote. Valdez said, do you think the Sterling CT50, which is a guitar I reviewed, will stand quality and performance to SE Silver Sky? I'm assuming the SS will be more expensive. I think the SS is, well, the Silver Sky is $850. So I'm not. I seen that out there. So that came from I think another YouTube channel posted. I think it was Aaron Short Music posted it on his live show that it was $850. So everything I tell you guys about the Silver Sky is only what I've seen. I want to be very clear. What I've seen out there, because like I said, everything they sent me was under the guise that please don't release it till the 11th, and I'm kind of trying to hold to that. But obviously, like I said, everything you need to know about the Silver Sky spec-wise is on GuitarCenter.com, or not Guitar Center, yeah, Guitar World's website, sent to them by PRS, so that's why it's there. And PRS, of course, posted pictures of the Silver Sky, and with me, they asked me for a picture, they posted. I thought they were going to post it on the 11th. They posted it now. So obviously, if you want to see me in the Silver Sky holding it, I'm wearing like the same hat and shirt. Go figure. All right. I made myself laugh. I call my outfits the dad uniform to my kids. Dad uniforms to me are Vans, black t-shirt, dad hat, blue jeans. That's my outfit. It's the dad, what I call the dad uniform. So, Magic Man said the Silver Sky SE are going to sell like crazy. I believe so as well. I mean, we're all just guessing, but yeah, let's just say I think they'll do well. Okay, Kawal, I gotta get this right. Kawal Guitar Life said, he's a member. Kawal Guitar Life's member said, sending love and good vibes to all my fellow guitar players. Let's rock this 2022. Love y'all. That was nice. I just wanted to read that. That's a pleasant thing. Ryan from 60 Cycles, I'm here. I was chatting with Ryan back and forth all day today. I think at some point, I kind of feel bad because if those that know me well know that I am hard to get on the phone. I'm almost impossible to text or send messages to. I'm hard to get all that stuff back to because I'm usually doing something. But when you get my attention, or if you get me on your radar on the phone or in text or in something, I will just literally I'll keep it going forever because if you got me, that means I'm I'm not in the mood to do something, or I'm procrastinating. And so me and Ryan, I don't want to say what his is because I didn't ask him, but so I got some crazy news today. Talking about an email today to wake up to. As you guys know, 2 years ago, in January of 2020, I went to Boutique Amps Distribution. I interviewed Steve I interviewed Peter. I interviewed Mike Saldano, and I went to an event. And when I went to the event, they said they would let's build a custom Tone King amp. I bought an Imperial head and matching cabinet, picked up the colors, the whole 9 yards. This was kind of like a compensation for the going, because I had to go. So you don't understand, they were nice enough to pay for a hotel that night, and we had drinks that night and stuff. But actually, if you want to really have a funny story, we didn't have drinks. Me, Joe Morgan from Morgan Amps, and a couple other people drank until 2 a.m. on Hollywood, which was a crazy story. No, it was 4 a.m. actually, now that I think about it. It's 4:30, I think, when we got back to the hotel. But that's not the important part of the story. The important part of the story is, besides never go drinking with Joe Morgan and a bunch of German dudes, because they can really drink. But the important part of the story is, so I picked out the amp because the deal was, you had to go to the event, and then it was 2 days before the NAMM show. And since I live in Arizona and it's California, I had to pay for a hotel out of my own pocket, for 2 days to wait for the NAMM show. And, all the other stuff. So that was the deal. They made me the amp. The problem is COVID happened right after that. And then, as you know, they had a fire. And long story short, today when I wake up, they sent me an email saying your amp shipped. It'll be here Monday. So, of course, I'll do a video. I'm going to compare it against a 2-Rock because I think it's a comparable amp that you might want to hear it against. Maybe my Fender Deluxe Reverb, since it's basically the same amp. But what I got to tell you is, man, that is awesome. Because let me tell you, there was no way in any world I would have held them to sending me that amp. No way. Everything they've been through, right? I think that just shows their integrity and how cool they are, man. That was just great. Just great. So I just want to say, that was a cool thing. So obviously excited about the amp. It's the best way to wake up. Hey, you're getting an amp. What? Yeah, you thought, like I said, I was like, I figured that was just an old, never going to happen thing. Hold on a second. I'm looking at comments. Actually, you know what I need to do is flip screens real quick. Let me get on top of this. I feel like I'm not very focused today. Okay. Derek said, happy Friday. Phil finishing the basement, getting a guitar room. What does everyone think needs to be included in a great guitar room? I will tell you this, Derek, the best advice I can give you if you're doing a basement is to watch the Tone King and Steve from Boston's videos or live shows and ask them as well, because they both have basements and they're in basements. I live in the desert and I'm on the second story of a house. So like my world is totally different than theirs. I mean, everything from their sump pumps to their water sensor things. I mean, I don't know where you are and how your basement works. I don't know anything about basements. Finding a basement in Arizona, like Arizona, for those of you who have been to Arizona, especially the Phoenix area, that's like everybody has a pool and nobody has a basement. That's kind of how it works here, right? If you see footage of Arizona houses, like every other house is a pool, and very rare do you have any basements here. So I don't have a basement, and so I don't even understand how, I don't know anything about them. But what I will tell you is that's not really specifically your question, but I just want to tell you they have great information on that. But what do you need in a guitar room? Well, guitars. I don't know. I want you guys to answer that question. You guys put comments in there. What do you need if you were going to have, build a guitar room? Yeah. The Panda says, don't you have garages too? Yeah, we have garages. That's different, right? Garages are hot. Yeah. A lot of you guys are giving a lot of basement. Yeah, see, and again, a lot of you guys are talking about the basement stuff. So I wish I was versed, but I'm just the opposite. I'm the opposite of having water problems here in Arizona. Everything's about hot and dry. Speaking of garages, it's like 120, 130 degrees in your garage in the summertime here. So that's Fahrenheit, but still, you get the idea. But yeah, for a guitar room, I don't know what you need. You need a space. Here's the deal. Decorating wise, I mean, come on, man. Hang some guitars on the wall. You can do that. You can put some amps in the room, put some of your stuff. It's just a man cave kind of thing or a she shed kind of thing, whatever you're trying to do with that. But what I will tell you is the thing I find very valuable is having a specific practice space. No matter how many amps you see or guitars or whatever you see in the chaos in my environment, I have a space and it just has one amp and it's no pedal boards, it's no rig, just a space where I have like a music stand, which I highly recommend. Just get a music stand and get yourself like a Spark or a Katana or some kind of small amplifier and just your guitar and just sit. And sometimes you have to just disconnect from all of this to just play music, right? And that's what I highly recommend because you don't want everything to be a process. That's what I've learned, right? You want the process to be one, turn on amp, play music, done. So there you go. James says, keep your playing area separate from your lounge area. See, that's good advice too. Here's why I have trouble sometimes. This is not my guitar room. So you guys know. This room is tiny. This room is so tiny. The way I move and do this room is, I think, magical. Everyone who's ever came over has literally gasped at what they saw and how, what you guys think is like different rooms and different things. It's just how I like to do things. It's modular is what I would call it. Where I play is in another room. This is where I come, and this is work now. I love YouTube. It's a cool gig for sure. The podcast is a great gig. We should all be so lucky to have something fun that you get to enjoy and maybe make some money off of. That's like, Jesus, talk about a great thing to have. But because of that, it's hard for you to go, this is not work time. The last thing you want to do if you make YouTube videos is be in a room where you want to play a song and learn a song or play some music or work on something and look over and go, oh, have I finished the review of the new IK Multimedia pedal yet? Well, then maybe I should do that. You know what I mean? You just need to get out of that space. So this room is not my man cave guitar space. My man cave guitar space is actually in my bedroom, and that's where I just have all. It's always been in there. My very first videos used to be in there. If you guys look at the old videos on my channel, if you look at the room looks different, that's the room I'm in, my bedroom, which still looks like that to this day, and it still has all the same stuff that you see in it then today. This was created later, Lunamatic says your videos show you have a separate repair space. They have a separate repair space, amp room, podcast room, guitar room. That's what you think. I tried to do a video. I've tried it twice to make a video of this room. This is how small the room is. You can't do it. Everything's in a one-shot angle thing. So I will do a video one day. I will find a way to make this video. I've tried a couple times, but when you watch the footage, sometimes even in trying to show you the scale of everything, it still looks bigger than it is because it's just how you do things. How I have it really set up in my home is this. This is the room that I podcast and videotape videos for. Downstairs, I have a small shop. It's a one-car garage size shop, slightly smaller than one-car garage, by the way. It's 80% of what you would see in a one-car garage be. That's my shop area. That's mine. It's a separate room area. That's what I have. And then I have my bedroom area, and that's it. But you don't see any of that ever anymore. Like I said, that you would have to watch old videos. I mean, it's easy. Just go on my YouTube channel and scroll down to where, if it looks like I was filming with a cell phone in a bedroom, that's where I'm at. And that's that room. And so there's guitars and amps in there and stuff, but not a lot, but it's just stuff in there. But that's how I do it. But yeah, so what you see constantly, like different backgrounds and stuff, I told you, I have curtains that I can pull forward. I can do all kinds of stuff. And believe it or not, the thing that you think you're seeing right now, this is where it's hard to explain to you guys. The desk I'm on moves. Like, this is not me moving the computer. This is me moving the desk. It's on wheels. I can manipulate this. If I spin it around, I can spin you around to another wall that looks like I'm in a different room. I don't do it for any particular reason. Then, I don't know, just makes, like I said, it's modular. It just makes my workflow work. I've learned to work within a tiny, small space. Think about this. This is a true story. My entire YouTube workspace is smaller than Ola England's closet when he was doing his walkthrough. If you watch his studio walkthrough, when he showed his closet where he puts all his stuff, that is the size of my room, except for his closet looks just slightly bigger than my room. So that's it. And I don't have any desire to change that. Like I said, I like my workflow. I like my work to flow here to be like my workflow when I repair guitars. I like it efficient. I don't like it where messes congregate. I like to just get it done. So there you go. Maybe that's a video I need to do. We need to go to the next question. Antique Rocker says, I have no idea what he's saying. Churubusco, New York. Apologize to all the people from New York that I can't say Churubusco. I'm going to say that's close to right. Has Dick's Country Store and Music Oasis selling groceries, gas, guns, and guitars since 1968. Large selection of guitars. Then Guitar Center Burlington. I think, okay, so we say a better selection, larger selection than them. Any strange guitar stores near you? No, the only strange guitar store that's not even near me, it's in Reno, Nevada, 13 hours from here. That would be Bizarre Guitars and Guns, where it's two shops, one's guitars and one's guns. I bought a lot of stuff online from them. I've been in that store physically a couple times. It's a great store. I like the selection. They always have great prices. And I would say it's the only weird store here. There is a little music store, I don't know if it still exists, in Mesa, Arizona, I think called Insulaco's Music, where they do upholstery and musical instruments, but it's not really a guitar store, it's just musical instruments. But yeah, that's about it. So there's nothing like that. There's nowhere where you can get a gun, gas, and a guitar in Arizona that I know of, and groceries. But maybe that should be a thing. Matthew says, happy 2022. I have a late 70s Gibson with a loose bridge stud bushing. What suggestions do you have to make it fit tight into the body again? Well, look, I always give suggestions and I have videos on that stuff too. But stuff like this, when you're talking about a 1960s Gibson, you're talking about a real Gibson, you're talking about a guitar that, you know, let's just say it's worth the time and effort to do it right. I would say if you have a loose bushing stud, I would go ahead and have it professionally fixed. It's worth it. If you want to do it yourself, that's fine, but you need to do it the right way, which is probably, without looking at it, I would say you probably need to drill it out, dowel it, re-drill it, repost it. That's what I would do. Do it right. On a guitar like that, it's going to pay dividends in the end, right? You know, you can do it half-assed the first time, but it'll always pay dividends to do it the right way. So a lot of times I have quick fixes. I've done a lot of videos. A lot of times I do the quick fixes, of course, you know, if you don't have a shop you trust, or if you're just not so inclined to do work, you know, a drill press, or, you know, work with any kind of wood or anything. I understand that. But I would say, Matthew, definitely consider having it done, or learning to do it the correct way. I like I said, it'll pay off in the end. Not like, I don't know which 70s Gibson you have. You didn't even say if it's a Les Paul or an SG or whatever, but at this point in our lives, those guitars have value, and you don't want to ruin the value of that guitar. I know it's not about reselling guitars. That's not what I'm talking about. Just saying, you know, why do it? It's going to be a better performing instrument doing it the right way. It's going to hold value better doing it the right way. And again, I'm not looking at it. I don't know if I would even drill it and dowel it. But that's usually what I would expect with, you know, looking at that. But I'd have to see it to know exactly which way I would approach it. Jovial Panda 2022. Wow, that's got to be a new sign-on. Or at least you were like, I'm ready for next year. It says, thanks for all the great content and information. I'm debating on getting my first Telly. Thinking of a Squire CV versus G&L Tribute, ASAT. ASAT. Thoughts or opinions? I like them both. If it was me, I would buy the Tribute. I love Squire stuff. I think the quality is there. Maybe as good, if not better than G&L. I don't know. But I do like that. To me, the G&Ls, there's just something about them. Depending on the model, most of them have their USA made pickups. That's kind of cool. So there's not a lot of desire to have to kind of change that out, depending on the model. Some do hybrids, like some have import pickups, some have the USA pickups, and some have, like, I think, like, I did a Sharp Max on a G&L Tribute ASAT, and I think in that one, I think the bridge pickup was the USA pickup, and then the neck pickup was the import humbucker. So if it's the humbucker, they use the imported pickup, which was actually pretty good sounding pickup. But because that wasn't the issue we were trying to fix with the G&L when I did that video, but that's something we addressed. But I like the G&Ls for that vibe. You know what I mean? I like that just because it says Tribute on the headstock, just like PRS SEs. Look, if you look behind me, I have two PRSs right here. One obviously was given to me by my buddy Nathan. That's essentially, a beautiful dream guitar. And then there's an S2, I'm pointing out an S2 down below. But right there is an SE, Custom 22 SE. And I can tell you right now, I love that guitar. I mean, I love it. I play it all the time. If you can tell, because you can tell what I like. It starts popping up on all the videos, right? Because when I'm demoing an amp, the question is not when I demo a guitar, do I like the guitar? The question is when I'm demoing an amp or a pedal, what guitar am I using and why? Is it because I like it or because it sounds good? It's one of those two reasons, and sometimes both. If I'm demoing a guitar, what amp am I using? Or what pedal am I using? Again, because it sounds good. I want to put the best foot forward on the product. You know what I mean? So I want to use something I like using, but more importantly, something I like using so I'm familiar with it. Know your gear. I know how to use it and get a good tone out of it. So the thing with this, just like this PRS SE, for some reason, the fact that it says Paul Reed Smith and just says SE means nothing to me. I don't care less. Right? I could care less. First of all, what's funny about it is think about how this works. Matt says, is that the only SE behind you? No, there's a Silver Sky SE. There's two SEs behind me. Again, I could point at it and talk about that, that stuff. But the thing I like about the PRS SEs and what I like about this stuff is think about private stocks. It doesn't really say PRS private stock in big letters, right? It's just PRS, and so just like it says Paul Reed Smith, on the cores and then on the S2s. And so I don't mind sub, I don't know what you call that. Categories? Let's go with that. Subcategories. In other words, I don't mind, if a car is like the BMW 5 Series and the BMW 7 Series, right? So I know nothing about BMWs. I just know if I see a 7 Series, that person spent more than a 5 Series, especially if they bought new. That's all I need to know, right? I don't care about anything else, right? It's like a visual for how much they spent. To me, I'm just like, okay, they're both BMWs. To me, when I look at a PRS and if I look at a Paul Reed Smith core, I look at an S2 and I look at an SE, I look at them as all being Paul Reed Smiths, and then I go, but they're different subcategories. So I know the guy played, or person that played the core paid more. Maybe that matters, maybe it doesn't. And I know there's refinement as I go up, right? Just kind of like what I picture in the BMWs. I would imagine better cup holders and maybe a bigger engine or something like that. Better performance, right? Better quality. I know part of our ideology in guitar world is manufacturer origin. Those days are over. If you're still believing in that crap, I'm sorry. You're just not paying attention anymore. This whole hierarchy of where guitars are made is only connected now to resale values, not in the quality of how they can make instruments. That stuff pretty much ended the day affordable CNC machines were made. You know what I mean? Once, like, to me, here's my argument. I understand, understand that there's quality differences in price categories, okay? So what I mean by is if somebody says, oh, an Indonesian guitar, and they hold it up and they go, this guitar is not as good as this American-made guitar. And I go, okay, but what we don't want to look at is not where they're made. We want to look at what they were intended to be. So if you're saying a company goes to Indonesia and they make a guitar and they say, let's make an affordable price point, and they start taking away options. And then we look at some American-made guitar and it's loaded to the gill with options and fit and finish and time. And then you go, they're not the same. Well, they're not the same. But when you compare like a high-end made in Indonesia guitar to a high-end made in USA guitar, they're the same now. It's the same. It's the same. The CNC machine's the same. They can fit and finish the same. The time and grade's the same. And there's exceptions to all these rules, but we're generally saying the same. And that's why you're seeing like Strandberg for $2,600 made in Indonesia, because Indonesia is the new Korea. That's for sure, and quality-wise, and that's what's great to, because you can still buy a really affordable priced good instruments out of Indonesia. And so the reason I say all that is because there's this idea that, like I said, the Korean guitar is not as good as the American guitar. All that stuff is only true in the regard of what they spec the guitars out. If they want the guitar to be as good, if they want a guitar to be the same, they can make it everywhere the same. Because, again, they have the ability, because they have the main thing that's making the guitars now are the machines. And the other thing that's advanced, which is why you got to let go of your old thinking, is that the equipment that they're putting on the guitars is becoming standardized. There are as many high-end guitars now using the same components as lower-end guitars because that's the components they can get. I like using the Goto 510 as a perfect example. It's a bridge. It's in a $5,000 Sir, and it's in a $900 made, well, now it's got to be $1,100, right? Inflation. $1,100 made in Mexico Charvel. That's not a dig against anybody. It's not a praise to anybody. It's just saying they can put that bridge and everything. So let's argue, for the sake of argument, that the $1,000 Charvel and the $2,000 Ibanez AZ and the Sir guitar at whatever, $3,000 to $5,000, they're all using the same bridge. We know that's on par. Okay. Now we're going to argue what? Paint? How good they paint? Sure. Could the Sir shop, and again, I'm not picking on Sir, just because those guitars look similar. They could have the same kind of paint. They could be buying it from the same supplier, using the same paint guns and having the same skill set. Wood in the body, if they're using all the same kind of woods, that's the same. So then we start talking about, well, what are we really talking about? Once they start putting in, like Sir, one thing about them is they have their own pickups. That's really great. But we're going to talk about guitars like Nags, where Nags use mostly Seymour Duncans and bare knuckles in their guitars. So $5,000 Nags with Seymour Duncans. You can get the Ibanez with Seymour Duncans. You can get the Charvel with Seymour Duncans. So we know the pickups are equal in quality. See how this is. So then you go, okay, well, let's get the neck. Well, the necks, obviously, still made on CNC machines, but we can hand finish. There could be skilled labor in the more expensive guitars, for sure. But what I'm basically getting at is, that's why I look at it the way I look at it, which is, like I said, think of it as categories. Okay, some guitars are less, I don't know. Again, I don't want to say quality because that's not what I'm getting at. They have less feature sets. One of the features can be, actually, believe it or not, a feature on an instrument could be how much hand time the instrument received before final shipping, right? So that is a big deal. It's a very big deal. And so you understand how big of a deal it is that when you go to a high-end guitar shop, guitar, not repair shop, I mean manufacturer. I'm talking about the best, the premium. If you look at how much hand time is put on the guitars, it's not hours. It's not like, no one's spending 2 hours on your $5,000 guitar neck. They're not doing that. They spend 30 minutes to an hour, maybe. Sometimes 10 minutes. It depends. Depends on the guitar and what it needs. So the point is, they got to move quickly. And so that tells you how fast they have to be when the guitar's $200, right? You're thinking for $200, you're getting somebody who works on your neck for 10 minutes. That's not true. They probably worked on like a couple passes and then it's got to go, right? So that's what you got to deal with now. Somebody's saying Eastman make fantastic guitars. Of course, like I said, really what you learn is this: they can make a guitar anywhere on the planet Earth they want, for the most part, at any quality level they want. But what the real reality that we deal with now is, what is it worth later on the resale value? And let's be honest, there's like, I like the word cachet. There is cachet to an American-made Gibson guitar. There just is. It's iconic. People want it. Rock stars have it. It's something. It's a Rolex watch at this point. It's something to show that you have. If that so matters to you, I don't know, right? I said it on all my Gibson videos. I've said it. If you want a good guitar, just buy the Epiphone. If you want to own something for that factor of resale value, or, like I call it the I have arrived, like, look, he's arrived. He's got that guitar. There's some truth to that. So back to the PRSs. That's why I like to say this. I like the SEs, I like the S2s, and I like the Cores. I think they're all really good. I could argue that they are better as they go up, but it's not like crap to good. It's good to great. You know what I mean? It starts out really good. A lot of you guys are talking about Eastman now. Eastman, a perfect example. High-end guitars. My knees hurt, says I don't wear watches. I don't either. That's why when I said the Rolex thing, I'm like, oh crap, I could be totally wrong on that because I don't even know anything about. Harry the guitarist says, I disagree. I think it matters sometimes. I don't disagree with that statement. I think it does matter sometimes. Again, I like to talk in non-absolutes. So I don't believe anything I said was an absolute truth or an absolute fact. I believe it's generally true, or generally what I find to be, kind of the average. Like I said, there's exceptions to all these rules. Of course. Let's see. Magic Man said Gibsons still play and sound better than Epiphones. Sure. Again, there's nothing wrong with that statement. I can see with it's a very accurate statement. Obviously, they're very good. However, we're not really kind of getting, that's too specific of a thing. We have to be more kind of look at it like as a whole. The question is not, is the Gibsons better than the Epiphone? The question is the Epiphone good enough? It is. Because, and again, this isn't to like disprove your statement or win an argument. It's really just to look at the broader picture of it. The question I would ask you, Magic Man, just asking as maybe rhetorical, because I know we can't really interface this too much with the comments versus talking. Can you gig could you go on tour with a major act with an Epiphone guitar, a quality Epiphone guitar? And we're not talking about the bass student models where they're going to cut corners. We're talking about like a quality Epiphone guitar where they put good pickups in it. Better. I mean, I love the Epiphone bridges. They're fantastic. I wish Gibson would adopt them. They actually have a patent on those. I don't know if you know. I think the Epiphone bridge is better than the Gibson one. I don't understand why they don't stick it on the damn Gibson. The question is, can they tour with that? I believe they can. Does the Gibson sound better? Sure, of course. I really believe all those things matter. I believe a tube amp, different tube amps sound better. Everything sounds incrementally 1% better. There's magic to this. I think if you don't dive into the whole, kind of like all the colors of our universe of music and all the tones, if you don't really kind of get into that, then I understand that. But if you do, you understand just the subtle difference of just how, a pedal or a type of string or a type of pick can change your sound. But again, that's the fun of it. That's just getting into it on every nerdy level and every musical level. And then there's like, okay, but what do you need? What can you use? And the reality is they're really making fantastic instruments at the level of Epiphone, at the level of PRS SE. I mean, they're just fantastic. But I prefer the more expensive instruments. That's why you see mostly them behind me. I prefer them for a lot of reasons. But I also like I said, my SE, PRS SE is fantastic. Sounds great. I remember I think I said in a video, and I think I said I was going to change out the pickups. I haven't done it yet because I actually still don't hate it. Mark Hall says, Gibson better than Epiphone? Ask the Beatles. That's not even the same brands. The Epiphones the Beatles played are not the Epiphones of today. It's a different kind of thing. And I don't know if they would, I would believe that the Beatles now, if they were the Beatles now, they would never play Epiphones. They would play Gibsons mostly because they get Gibsons for free. I'll tell you what I don't believe. I don't believe any musicians I watch paid for their instruments. Again, no, I'm not. Nothing is to me is 100%. But generally speaking, I'll tell you, being on the YouTube platform now for many years and hanging out with all just YouTube platforms and again all kinds of musicians, what I see is, I just can't imagine learning what I've learned across all this market now. I can imagine that these musicians are not just getting the instruments free, that there's no reason for them to pay for them. The companies send them out. Okay. Brian says, Beatles would play PRS guitars because Paul would send them a free one. Of course, that could be possible. Although I don't find that necessarily, here's what's important. What I've learned from this, and again, I'm not an expert by any means in the artist side of the world. What I've learned now when I listen to artists talk, working with companies, look, I'm not an artist. I'm just some dude on YouTube talking on Fridays, whatever. But the point is, I still have to deal with companies like artists do. And what I can tell you is some companies are a pleasure and some companies are a nightmare. And I think it's funny. It's coincidental almost when I have a company that I go, man, that was horrible. And then next thing I know, all the artists left like a month later go, yeah, that's not coincidence, is it? Can't be. I mean, it could be, but it can't be, right? So I think there's a little bit of that to this. There's people in these companies I just absolutely love when the phone lights up and I see their name and I go, oh, this is great. This is going to be a great conversation. Because I know it's going to be about music and gear and maybe interactions on the channel. And I know the companies when they call, I know it's, it's just a matter of fact, and it's just about getting some kind of thing that they need. And there's nothing wrong with that too, but I'm sure our artists feel the same way. You know what I mean? They want to be, it's people. The whole world is people. You guys are going on a tirade with the Beatles thing. Maybe that's the best question ever. What would the Beatles play if they were new today and started out? Harley Benton's. Wouldn't that be funny if that was the truth? Because it's not even, think about this. It doesn't even sound absurd. Think about that. It doesn't sound absurd to me. Could you imagine if the Beatles started out today and they all had Harley Benton's? I wouldn't even find that such a weird thing to see. David wants to know, hey, how much difference do expensive capacitors make? Placebo effect? There's always a placebo effect. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? So let's not ever take that out of the equation. I always constantly talk about that. I don't know. Sometimes I have emotional response, and an emotional response is a real response. You need to buy that Universe you talk about. I don't know what that means. Oh, the Universe guitar. Yeah, I'm never buying that. You talking about the Ibanez Universe guitar. I'm never buying that. I got the Passion 25th Anniversary Swirl, best guitar I've ever played. I have, like I said, I have an RG 7620, which is essentially the first Universe, and I absolutely love it. And I've had a Universe before. I had the black one with the green pickups. I wanted the swirl, kind of like yours, the Anniversary Swirl. I wanted the swirl. The problem is I can't get the new Universes for me. That neck is slightly wider than the old one. I have the old one. Hey, there's a loud plane going over. And so I like the smaller neck. But back to capacitors. I believe in it. I believe that different capacitors, changing out not only different values, but different types do produce some kind of result. However, when I understand both arguments and believe both arguments be true. If somebody was to say that, hey, there's a subtle difference here, I can hear it. I go, yeah, me too. I hear a difference. And if somebody says, yeah, but it's barely noticeable and it's not even there, I'm like, that I believe that too, because it is subtle. Remember, I think that's what it is. When you start out, life is so great when you start out with gear. It's like you have a clean sound, you strum with clean sound, then you go and you get your first distortion pedal. Distortion and clean are extremely different sounds. Think about how magical that is. The first time, if that's what you care about, distortion, first time you hear distortion, you're like, what is this? This is not clean. First time you hear a flanger, you're like, what is going on? This is so dramatic. You get a wah pedal, it's like a freaking, right? It's like you went to the moon. You're like, I don't even know what that is, what it's doing to my sound. A single coil to a humbucker. Whoa. 11 gauge strings versus 9. These are so powerful and so easy. The problem is this: you're never going to stop that journey for the most part. Most players aren't. And so the problem is, like any kind of drug addict, so to speak, 20 years later, you're going to be like, 8.5 to 9 gauge strings. Look at the difference. And 0.447 microfarad oil paper versus, right? That, here's the deal. There's nothing wrong with still enjoying the road. Does it get silly at some point? Absolutely gets silly. You know when it gets silly. You don't even have to be a professional musician. You don't have to know anything. All you have to do to find out when you've gone too far, which is fine. I don't stop. Just because you've gone too far doesn't mean you should stop. It's when you can't get anybody in the room to understand what you're talking about. Right? Think about this. I want you to picture this. You guys all have, a lot of you probably have significant others, brothers, sisters, friends. Hopefully you all have one of those things, something, a friend maybe, a business acquaintance, a fellow coworker. Anyways, you have somebody in your life and you show them your guitar and you do something, you play a guitar, strum a couple chords, and you hit a distortion pedal. They all go, wow, that's different. Then when you try to show the difference between this is the 5150 pedal versus the BE overdrive. When you AB it, you know what they do. They go, which one sounds better? And they go, well, that sounds the same to me. And that's your realization, one, that you're taking it too far, but also two, that there is truth in this because they don't hear something that you absolutely hear, which means it could be a placebo, but it could be exactly that. Sometimes you can't hear something that you're not, like I said, you have to be refined. You have to refine it, right? You have to know all the little things. I've met people in this industry that can hear things that I just cannot hear. Paul Reed Smith is a perfect example. The first couple times I ever met him pre-YouTube and talked to him, everything he said, I said this is a true statement. When I went to his factory the first time and I went back to my store, I was talking to, I think it was probably Ralph. It might've been somebody else. And they were talking about Paul Reed Smith and all the crazy things he thinks and says. Cause he, at that time it was, now it's the internet fight for life, but it's the things he believes, tone woods, all that stuff that he believes, whether you're for it or against it. But I will tell you what I said then. And I hold true to this day. I don't know if all the things he says is real, but I believe he believes they are real. Like, I don't think he's the emperor's new clothes. I don't think he's trying to sell us something, sell us a BS idea. I think he believes everything. And that's just my intake of talking to him or seeing him. He believes everything he says. That's how it comes across to me. And if it's not true, man, talk about someone who doesn't break character ever. So the question I have is sometimes when I go, I don't hear what he's talking about or what he's saying, I sometimes think to myself, okay, is that I'm crazy or is it he's crazy? But what I do is I try to figure it out and I have fun. And I remember it's a fun ride. I knew this was going to come up. BC Rich 581 says, didn't Billy Corgan make some insane claim he could hear the tone difference when he finishes in the Reverence? What he said was he could hear the difference in the white finishes versus the other finishes. What's funny about that is, I've said this before on the show. It's true. I don't know if, when I say it's true, he said that, and it's true. I said this. I used to, in the shop, we would get Strats from Fender all the time, and the white ones always sounded different. And when I say different, I don't mean through the amplifier. I don't mean through the pickups and stuff. I mean acoustically. They sound darker and deader. Deader is probably the better word. They weren't as alive. You'd strum them, and they didn't kind of shoot out. And I always thought that was kind of weird. And again, it's just one of those things. Like, I never said like, oh, that's, white ones don't have as much, they don't push out as much, volume. They sound deader. I never said it before. And then I read that article of Billy Corgan when he said white guitars there's something different about them. And I was like, that's really weird that I've always thought that. And here's the thing. Like I said, I don't paint guitars. So I asked some friends that paint guitars, and they told me that it could be possible that when you do white guitars, you do more primer and there's more paint on the guitar. I don't know. And then technically like a M&M or a Skittles, like candy coating on the outside maybe makes a difference. Again, I totally will tell you that it could be placebo. It could just be a weird coincidence. It could be something. He could be crazy. Could be crazy. What I will tell you is I don't claim that there is a difference, but I don't claim that there isn't, because it's just, one, it doesn't matter, right? What I think about is this. When artists say things like that, I think if that's what if that's what's in their head to make great music, then whatever. Zim says, I need to clean the wax out of my ears. That could be it too. So, I don't know. All right. This conversation just sometimes goes so strange. We need loud paint. Shut up. Let's stop. Yeah. Like I said, I'd like to point out, I don't believe a lot of that stuff. I just, like I said, I'm aware of it and I'm open-minded to it, but I'm also open-minded both ways. I'm really, really okay with it being happy horse shit, or if it's being real. I don't care. I like the discussion of it. I like the entertainment value of it. That's the reality. It's not whether or not I believe this stuff or disbelieve it. I just like the idea, if you want to sit in the bar and have a beer and talk about whether or not blue guitars sound cleaner than red guitars, I'm totally okay with having that conversation because I can think of 1,000 subjects I'd rather not talk about. Clan of House Cats said Jackson raised their prices up $200 in 6 months. I kind of mentioned that earlier, Clan of House Cats. Yeah, it is crazy. And again, you're going to be seeing that. And that's why I said you want to see if any of the dealers have old stock. Maybe you can get a deal, if that's even a thing. Thing being old stock. Yeah, it sucks. I understand it sucks. I bought last year, the last 2 years. So it's, to be fair, last 2 years, I have bought more product for me personally, more guitars and amps than I've normally bought in any period of time. And, for that reason, this is something I've recognized in the past, that when things like this happen, if you're on the fence, if there's something you really want, but you're holding off, like one day, if I ever get to afford a, $200 blah, blah, blah pedal, I'm going to get it, knowing that pedal will probably be $250 in 6 months, really kind of goes, okay, at this point, you got to do it. You got to make the decision because it's just going to get worse. So it could all come back down though. That's how that works too. But again, what I know is if I'm in it for the long haul. So if some of the stuff comes back down, well, I'll wait it out. Ray says, what is a dream you've never said out loud? Oh my God, really? That's the question. A dream. I don't think you mean a sleeping dream. Like, spiders, sharks. I have a lot of shark nightmares. I watched Jaws when I was like, I don't know, 6. So I have a lot of nightmares about sharks. And I'm fascinated by them, which is probably why. Let me put it this way: YouTube is. That's how I know YouTube works really well. YouTube knows like the fish to send me shark videos like crazy. I watch them all. But what is a dream? I would say a dream meaning like a passion or a thing I want to do. Like, what is my life dream? What is a dream I've never said out loud? I don't know if I've ever had a dream necessarily like that I haven't said out loud. I'm pretty boring when it comes to that stuff. I can tell you this, there's probably nothing I've never said out loud, but maybe not in public on a live platform with, hundreds of people watching or whatever, thousands, obviously with the rebroadcast. I can tell you this, there's 2 professions that I've never done that if I could do, I would love to do them, but which is like stand-up comedy was definitely one of them. And the other thing is probably what? Because you know what you're thinking. Like, it's weird. I've read somewhere that all comedians want to be musicians and all musicians want to be comedians. I love Jerry Seinfeld's comment that all men think they're comedians and all women think they're decorators. I thought it was a funny comment. Or joke. I think it was a joke. But I think that's probably the only thing like I've never pursued. Everything at some point I've done, I've pursued some kind of thing, whether it's I've played in front of thousands of people. I've played in front of hundreds of people. I've played as a guitar. I've played the bass. I've played, I've worked on guitars. I opened businesses. I've done everything. And I came out the other side and really smarter for it for sure. And some successes, a lot of failures, like anybody, huge failures that you have to deal with financially, emotionally, there's just all kinds of stuff. Grumpy Mike says, I thought you wanted to drive a dump truck. Maybe, maybe. I think that there was some kind of bucket list thing I could do, like some people were like, I'd like to see the Grand Canyon or something like that, or skydive. Probably the only thing is maybe I'd do stand-up comic and go up there and just bomb. I wouldn't be okay with bombing, by the way. I'm bombing every week here. I've just, in fact, probably easier now if you think about it. A room full of 50 people, probably easier than sitting in front of 1,000 people live, maybe. Grumpy Guitar Mike says, for the tone jar, I ordered an MT-15 today. It's all your fault. I already know I'm going to love it. Cheers. It is amazing amplifier. You're going to be mad. I sold mine. I bought 2 of them now. And I wish I would have known. I would have offered it to you. I didn't sell it. I traded it. I'm sorry, I should say I traded it. And there's a reason why I traded it. Because I love it. But I think I'm going to definitely get the Archon again, which is the 50-watt version. But they're basically the same amp. I just like the aesthetics of the... Actually, it's not true. I think I'm also waiting for the MT-100. I think I'm going to do that. But I can tell you right now, I can tell you this. I think the MT-15 is one of the most underrated amplifiers in the market. I don't think there's any real environment other than needing a 100-watt head where that amp isn't the best sounding amp. It's just such a good... LPD says, YouTube audience doesn't throw things at you. That's not true. Anyways, I don't know why I laughed at that, but see, this is how bad I am. That's a bad joke, and I'm laughing at my own joke. Anyways, Grumpy, you're going to love the MT-15. I also have to manage my amps. There's only so many spots. Alex says, just got a new Les Paul, but I'm having trouble closing the Gibson case with the strap attached to the guitar. Can't find room for it Is this common? Yeah, I have that problem too. Sometimes you just have to take them off. That's why strap locks are nice. You can just unlock them real fast, put them in the pouch. That's what I would suggest to you, because that case is kind of tight. So sometimes you can do the thing where you put it on top of the guitar and fold it over, but I don't know. That makes me nervous sometimes with those kind of guitars. Magic Man said, thoughts on the 2-Rock Crystal 50 head? So I owned the Studio 20 or 22 before. I really like that amp. And now I have the Studio 35, but I don't think they call it that. It's the new version. I wanted the new version. And I like having the more powerful headroom. It's loud. That's the loudest 35. It's loud. That 35 watt 2-Rock is louder than all my 50 watt heads. It really tells you about the power of a quality transformer. I plan to do a video with the 2-Rock. That will be coming soon. I plan to do two. Like I said, I want to compare to the Tone King amp, but I want to kind of compare the 2-Rock to a more affordable Fender amp to see what are you missing. The 2-Rock amps, so there's a mystery to the 2-Rock amps and all those kind of amps, these Dumble clones and stuff. And that's kind of like what I think I can give to the community. And it's fun as hell for me, which is I get to try these things and then show you guys, like, what is it? You know what I mean? Studio Signature. Thank you, Cup of Noodles, Studio Signature. And like I have a video, I sent a preview of it to the patrons. I'm thinking it might be Sunday. I'm not sure. Right behind me right here is a Gibson R9. The video I have coming out is of the Gibson RO, which is the custom shop RO. And, same thing, what is it? What's it like? Are you missing out on things? I think there's this constant, it's not even money thing. If you have the money or don't have the money, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you just obsess about stuff. I think this is funny. Like, comments in the internet are always tricky to me. They're like, everybody's so focused on the price they won't pay. I think that's the question. I don't understood that question. Somebody's like, I would never pay $2,000 for that guitar. I would never pay $500 for that amp. I would never pay, $5,000 for this. And I'm like, well, who cares if you would pay it or not, or if you have it or not? I mean, really, who cares? What I care about is what I can't afford, I obsess over anyways. I'll literally just spend hours researching things I can never afford. All the time, hours. Spend watching videos of it, trying to figure out, how much different is it than the thing I have. And look, and so when I did this YouTube channel, one of the things that inspired me was there was a channel called, I think it's called Cut It in Half. Again, apologize, not exactly right, but it's like a dad and the kid, and they buy crap and they cut it in half. And I was watching it one day. This is a couple years ago. And they bought a new Apple MacBook, and they cut it in half. They went into a Best Buy. They bought an Apple MacBook for like $2,600. They cut it in half and showed you what's in it. And I read the comments, and the comments were logical. They were like, "What the hell? That's crazy! You're an idiot! Why would they cut it in half?" And of course, a lot of people are like, "Oh, cool! I got to see what's in it." There's always both sides to that internet discussion. The thing that I saw, though, was I looked and I go, okay, they spent $2,600 on this MacBook. I looked over the views. It was like 13 million views. And I go, they made like 20 grand. So they walked into a Best Buy and they made 18 grand. That's why they cut it in half. Now, what I took from that was not that I should cut things in half or that's a good idea. What I took from that was they could do something that no one else could do. They could use their channel in a way that says, I mean, again, their logic was we could cut things open and look inside them. And the average person can't see inside this stuff because who in the hell would spend $2,600 and cut it in half? I don't want to cut things in half. I don't want to do that. But I started thinking, like, what if I start doing things that you can't do? Even myself, personally, I can't do this. I can't compare an R9 to an RO. I can't, personally. But the channel can. I can't compare a 2-Rock to a Fender, an $800 Fender amp. But the channel can. I can't hear on the channel. And, and I can sell it and flip it and do stuff and keep it going. Like I said, and try things and see what we're missing. And more importantly, be able to tell you guys, and truthfully, with my, truthfully meaning not with what I say, truthfully in what I do. Here's a tip. 2 years from now, if I have a 2-Rock and I don't have a Fender amp, that'll tell you everything you need about the 2-Rock. I know that's a long time to wait for that. I'll tell you up front too, but I'm just saying, you can see. I've learned now, trying all this expensive stuff, yeah, a lot of it's just, it's just a lot of hype. Man, a lot of hype. And people say that, but just because they say it doesn't mean it's true. I literally can go, okay, yeah, somebody says, please cut your Les Paul in half. No, sadly enough. Yeah, if I could get 13 million views, I'd do it. I mean, I wouldn't, but I mean, I'd consider it. Yeah, but like I said, that's the interesting, and I've seen other channels try this too, by the way, other things where they try things on the channel thinking, hey, if it gets the views, it'll pay the dividend to compensate it for doing it. So that's why I said I'll do it, stuff like that. That ties me into another question. Chris, unfrickin' believable where did he put? He put, Phil, cancel my Dean Zelinsky guitar order and borrow his. So he's a patron, so he knows I mention things to patrons and discussions. I bought a Dean Zelinsky Z-Glide guitar. I was kind of complaining about it. I bought it for the channel. So I bought a brand new one, ordered off their website. Again, things I can't do, right? I'm not going to buy a $1,400 guitar with a weird neck. But I'll do it here on the channel, and then we'll get to see it, and then we'll see how it goes, right? We'll sell it, flip it, continue on the journey, and share it with you, share the experience with you. And I mentioned that the first experience hasn't been so great, which is I went on their website, and you buy it, it says in stock, but it's 2 to 4 weeks before they ship it to you. And I was like, oh, that sucks. And it does disclose that in the bottom of the thing. It's not really hidden, so I can't really kind of, shade them for that or whatever you're going to say. But it just kind of bummed me out because that's what I was saying to the patrons was it's going to be a February thing, not a January. So I got to get another guitar for January to do. So I did, and that's on its way. But that's the idea. Again, yes, you guys are talking about the count. There's channels that crush things and smash things. So hold on. Okay, I'm gonna get back to questions. Otherwise, we're not gonna get done in time. Alex said, "Hey, just got a new." Oh, we did that one. We need to. Okay, we need Robert, who says Elephant in the Room, Pretty Silver Sky. We did that one. We'll do that more at the end. Soul said, when playing just for enjoyment, how do you decide which guitar you're picked up? Okay, have any kind of system to give them all love. So his question to me is a very fair question. What do you do when you have a crap ton of guitars like this? This is, again, why I like this podcast. And I find it very refreshing for me and hopefully for you too. And it's an interesting thing that we've created here on this channel with you guys. You guys being with me. You guys created this with me, whatever this is, Hanging Out Friday. This starts and has a conversation that you normally couldn't have in videos, which is you make videos on YouTube and you constantly are making content, and you're making content for other people. There's very few times, like I can tell you right now, anytime I make content for myself, it's very apparent the views drop. And just seem like I'm my own little world about it. A lot of it, it's like I said, what would they be interested in? Are they interested in the new Silver Sky? Well, then when PRS reaches out to me, whether I'm interested or not, we're going to do it because I think you'll be interested in it. Sometimes it's a double win. I'm interested too. So the point is, why I say that is a lot of times what people understand is that it's tough for me to explain because when we talk about my guitars behind me, perfect example, Nathan made this guitar for me as a gift. It's a beautiful PRS. I'm never getting rid of it. It's awesome. I didn't choose this guitar. It kind of sort of chose me. So I love playing it. The next to it is that PRS, this Charvel DK24 that Brian at Paint Hover decided to have painted for me. It's custom painted for me. The guitar is a custom paint job. Again, something very unique. And it has my channel logo in the paint job. So, I mean, it's obviously not going to go anywhere. I love those guitars. But like I said, I'll be connected sometimes differently to other guitars that I just randomly had bought years ago and play. So my answer to your question is, what guitars do I play? Well, I tend to play the same ones that I had before I did YouTube that I keep playing, and I enjoy the other ones. But like I said, sometimes it's different. For you guys, it's just a wall of guitars. Sometimes these guitars are just here for the channel. Sometimes these guitars are just here, visiting. So it's, I might play them more than other guitars because I know they're going back. But that's why I said it's a tough thing to kind of keep explaining not or kind of to myself even, but to you guys, there's this YouTube side versus this personal side. Ola, I think, is a great example of that. When you watch his channel, he's constantly talking about products and stuff. But if you watch, he's like the same Randall amps. Like that's his thing. He is reviewing Soldanos and all these great amps, these amps that everybody would love to own and be so lucky to have all these crazy, beautiful amps. And then yet he still keeps and loves his original amps. That's what kind of happens. Like I said, I love the fact that I've been able to review and so much gear. It's actually the funnest part about it is trying all the new gear all the time, but it's very rare when a new piece of gear hits you and goes, oh yeah, we gotta, we gotta do that. So, okay, hold on a second. Okay. So we have to go to the next question. Next question is Drew. I like the riff. By the way, also Soul Fountain, who asked the question about enjoyment. That's why when Sweetwater sponsored some of those videos and I did the behind the scenes, like my rig, that was something I had no reason to discuss with you guys, which is, that I play a Kemper almost all the time. And the Kemper, I didn't really discuss that. Somebody asked me afterwards, because again, I didn't know what was going to be interesting in that conversation. My Kemper is profiled all my own personal amps. Like everybody was like, oh, you should, once people found out I got a Kemper, even close friends, because I've had one for 2 years. They were like, oh, you need to get this profile pack and this profile. And I was like, oh, I only play like 3, like I have 3 settings in that thing and they're all my 3 amps. So that's what I'm doing with it. I can tell you right now, like for rock tones, I play the Small Box 50 by Friedman, and I have a small box distortion pedal, and then I have the small box profile in my Kemper, my small box profile in my Kemper, and I'll like literally live on that setting for me personally all the time. Like that's just a sound I like to go to. It comes out, I use it more and more in videos, but most of the time it's just me personal time. So same thing with guitars. There's just certain things I just go to. It's just for me, my personal sound, that what I'm looking for. Drew says, I like the riffs that you play in your videos. Oh, thank you, man. Says, ever recorded complete songs with bass, drums, and vocals? That's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing an album. He says, if so, what is your approach to songwriting? So I'm doing an album, but it's not like a normal album. I mean, it's just instrumental, but it's made for, I'm making backing tracks for the videos. I sometimes put backing tracks in the background of videos when I'm talking or something like that. And I buy the, you buy them, you just go online, you buy licensed songs and put them in the backgrounds. And so I thought, well, why not just record them myself? And so I started recording myself and I go, okay, this would be cool. And the idea would be I'll collect them all up in an album and just, trade or patent it or copyright it and stuff. So that's the first time I've done that in a while. I haven't done that in a while. Usually when I play, I just play, most of the time when I play music, I'm either playing music for the YouTube channel, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is. It's hard to think of something like, what am I going to play for this, this product? And my approach to a lot of times is different. I try not to like if I do a metal amp, I try to play more metal. And if I play a blues amp, I try to play more blues. And if it's a clean amp, I try to play more clean. And same with guitars. If it's a bluesy guitar, I play more blues. If it's a metal guitar, I play more metal. I try to do that stuff, which is tough for me because I'm not really like all these studio musicians on the guitar that are so versatile through all that stuff. I just kind of do whatever I think appeals to whoever I think is going to be watching the video. Although some of you, especially on the live show that hang out with me every Friday, are diehard viewers and you really support the channel and watch all the things, you have to understand that the majority of people don't watch. The average person only watches 2.5 videos. There's 800 videos. Average person only watching 2.5. So you look at demographics, they're all over different age demographics because it's not me. No one's really clicking the Film Ignite or Know Your Gear icon as much as they are clicking the product category or subject that I'm talking about. So it's the subject is what they're interested in. So for instance, if I review the new Silver Sky SE, everybody who's interested in the Silver Sky is going to be clicking onto it, not necessarily everybody who's like, oh, what's Phil's doing this week? That's not usually how it works. So on the Silver Sky, obviously, since it's a John Mayer Strat, I focus more in that video on the clean sounds because that's kind of what he does. These clean and light overdrive, tones, so that's where I focused. I didn't they're like, oh, today we're going to play Here's some Anthrax riffs. So, but that sounds great. But believe it or not, what I learned is you learn them and you play them in the video, and then a couple months later, when you do a video just like it, you think, oh, you forgot them. You got to do it again. So to answer your question, yeah, I'm working on that right now. Jeff Parker says, I got a PRS Custom 24 SE Floyd new. Floyd won't hold tune, dive stays flat, 10 to 15 cents, slight pull up goes sharp. 10 to 15 cent exhausted my ideas, thoughts. Okay, so obviously you know if it's locked first, it's got to be locked at the nut. I know you probably know this, but we got to start from the easiest problem, which is it's not going to stay in tune if it's not locked at the nut. The strings have to be properly stretched. That is your two biggest things. I don't care about the sense. What I care about is if it's going flat or sharp. And you say dives. Okay, so your won't hold tune. Dive stays, I'm assuming, goes flat. So you dive it, come back up, and now because I have to visualize this because I'm not holding a guitar. So if we dive it and we go back up to standard, it's not going back to pitch. That's basically what you're saying. See, when you're saying goes flat, in my mind, I'm like, it's not going flat. It's not going back to pitch. It's falling short of hitting it. If you pull up, it goes sharp. Again, you pull it sharp and it's not going back to pitch. So your problem is the bridge is not going back to the pitch that you started with. First of all, definitely got to check to make sure that the strings are locked. You got to make sure if the strings are stretched. That's a big part of that. They'll keep messing with this. I mean, really, that's the two core things that you have to worry about. I mean, anything else. What I can tell you is, let me see. I'm trying to think of a trick, like an easy trick. Somebody says intonation, Kawhi Guitar Life's intonation. That wouldn't be intonation. The issue is this. He's tuning the guitar up. It's in tune. He dives it. It goes back, right? So he goes. So let's say, like I said, he goes down. So it's going flat. Goes back. It stays flat. Doesn't matter how many cents it is, right? It's still flat. So it's not going back to standard pitch. It didn't go back. So the bridge did not return to correct position, or the strings were stretched out and now they're, like I said, now they're flat. When you pull back, you're stretching the strings out, same thing. You're sharp. When you go back to standard position, you should go back to the same tuning you were. He's now sharp, which means, again, the string stretched out and did not come back. So that's why I think it could be just as easy as strings. That's real common with Floyd Rose, but definitely the locking nut has to be addressed. Which is a big part of that. Also, you want to make sure that here's the best thing too, because again, these kind of questions are always tricky on the show because I'm just doing it without looking at it. One thing I would do is definitely try this test. Tune up the guitar, stretch the strings, tune up the guitar, get it to pitch. Then when you dive bomb it and you go back up, instead of it being flat, when you say it's flat, specifically look at each string, which string is flat and find out if any strings went back to standard. If any of the strings went back, that tells you a lot versus the bridge versus it could be strings or issues with just certain strings. I have found personally when it comes to Floyd Roses, some types of strings suck, brands, or some are better at Floyd's than others. For that reason. And so I don't know, again, I don't know if you have the original strings on there, or if you're using some kind of odd string. Ernie Ball Cobalt strings are really cool, but I've had trouble with them doing that. Again, you got to stretch them properly. Some strings just need to be stretched. Yeah, LPD says, does it stay sharp when you pull it sharp? That's what he's saying. He pulls it sharp, it stays sharp. He dive bombs flat, it stays flat. It's not returning to... Brett says, double check the knife edge post. That's important too, but I have found, unless of course the bridge is not sitting on them, there's this thing that happens on the internet where they talk about the Floyd Rose bridges and they're saying, oh, the cheaper ones are crappy because they don't return back to position. That is kind of true, but mostly that's kind of more true when the bridge is older and it wears in spots. So a lot of you guys are talking about being parallel with the body. I would stretch the strings first, because again, that's where we have to start. Definitely make sure the strings are good, stretch them, and then try to figure out if it's all the strings or just certain ones. My guess is it's certain ones. Brian says weak springs. Could be a problem with the springs. again, the important part is the easy part is this, is that we know it's just not returning to the correct position. So like if I had it here on the bench in front of me, that's all I would try to figure out is what can I do to get it back to going back in standard position. Ellen says, Phil, are you happy with Stringjoy strings? I am. Like I said, I only use Stringjoy and I use D'Addario strings is what I use. And that's it. I like those two brands. I've always been a D'Addario person. And then, like I said, when I met Scott at Stringjoy, and I kind of enjoy his strings and I like them. They're very good. They're just very expensive. But like I said, I've said this before. I don't think they're expensive because they are made... there's more expensive materials or they're made so much better than anybody else's. Although I don't want to take that away from him because I think he works really hard. I think there's an artisan vibe to it, which is, I think there's a part of that it appeals to people. It appeals to me. There's something cool sometimes, when you go to your local pizzeria versus the chains. I know I'm paying more sometimes. Sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's paying more because it's a person behind a counter that actually has to take out the trash at the end of the night and run his books and make the pizzas. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel about Stringjoy. To me, it's about supporting a small business that makes good stuff and cares and passionate. They're into it. It's really cool. So I like them for that same reason. So that's the two reasons I like them. And it's fun. What I will tell you about Stringjoy, if you guys are on the fence about Stringjoy strings, I have a link. So, they give me like an affiliate thing if you click the link. It kicks me a bit if you buy them. And I'm just telling you that so if you can use that link. Otherwise, just go right to their website. But what I will tell you is one of the things that I became really engrossed in during COVID, it really was therapeutic. It's like, it really was. Like, I'm sitting there thinking about it going, I was thinking about, I just romanticized in my mind how great it was during COVID. When the first lockdowns happened, I started going on his website and just designing crazy packs of strings because you can go on there, and I just came up with all kinds of weird theories. Like I would go, what if I do a hybrid set? Because you can make any pack of strings you want, any gauge. I tried some wacky stuff and so they're like $12, $13 a pack. He doesn't upcharge for that. That's like the same. So whether you buy his standard box packaging or if you do crazy strings. And so I was doing all these weird ones. I can't even remember what I did. I did all this stuff. Here's what I learned. I think I like 10 to 46. I use 10 to 46 or 9 to 42s. That's just kind of where I landed. Mostly 10 to 46. I tell everybody for years I played 9 to 42s. It's because of YouTube. I play all the time. And because I play all the time, 10 to 46 is where I'm at. If I have a bad couple weeks where I'm not playing as much on YouTube, I literally I feel like I have to go back to 9 to 42s for me. But I was going to tell you, trying a crazy pack of strings to see if you got it right. You know what I mean? You could try all kinds of stuff. It was fun. It was so fun. And worth the money for basically $15-$20 with shipping to try something crazy. And by the way, you can find companies that have all those kind of crazy strings, but like I said, it was fun to try. You never know. And of course, the worst thing is if you fall in love with it, then you're always going to have to buy them. Dan says, I got burned on a PV Valve King 212 amp, turned on, but doesn't make sound. Can I just use the 212 cab for another head? Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. You just have to make sure the cabinets, the speakers are not wired to the amplifier. So you just, plug straight into those speakers. Sure, of course. Very common to do that. In other words, so don't worry about it. A lot of people put heads on combos and just run the speakers all the time. I've done shootouts on the channel where I've done that. When I did the MT15 versus Archon in that video, I think what I remember correctly, I used the Archon 112 combo because it was 22 watts. I wanted two amps that were like each, 20 watts, whatever it was, 25 watts. Sorry. Archon was 25 watts and the MT15 is 15 watts. So I used those two. And what I did for continuity's sake, I just plugged the MT15 into the speaker of the Archon combo. So of course you could do it all the time. Rich says, Phil, I own two Stellar Mercury Les Paul custom guitars. Do you know anything about this company, Stellar Guitars? I have not, but I'm going to copy paste it so I can look them up. Like I said, you guys could constantly mention a brand to me every day, and I still wouldn't hear them all. There's so many companies out there. But always interested to hear about another one. Curtis says, hey, Phil, can I assume DiMarzio F-Space pickups work with Strats, Tellys, and regular space pickups? work with Gibson and Les Paul's SGs. Thanks. So the answer is F-Space. So F-spaced pickups for DiMarzio work. They're specifically made for tremolo spaced bridges. So that's what they're designed to be spaced for. 50 millimeters? Oh, I'm doing it off memory. Is it 48 millimeters and 50 millimeters, or is it 50 and 52? Why do I not know that? I don't do tremolo spaced pickups. So that's, it's because I do PAF style ones. But here's what I can tell you. I have used to buy, F-spaced pickups for tremolos, and then I'd buy the rig ones for hardtails. And I just slowly over time, I just stopped caring. So I just don't care anymore. I just use whichever works. And not for customers, but for me personally. Like none of my guitars are specific to, I do that anymore. And the reason is because I learned that sometimes you don't keep the pickups in the guitar, and then you just have all these weird, at least space pickups. But yes, the answer to your question is you can absolutely use any pickups you want for whatever guitar. Again, we're really arguing those magnetic fields are down to the weirdest finite amount. I don't think it's fake by any means. I just think it's like really at that point, you're really, I don't know. I think it's at that point you're worrying about the smallest part of that detail of that pickup. But Michael says, the transparency about product placement and sourcing is definitely a factor of your channel that not all channels seem to be forthcoming about. It is much appreciated and compelling reason to watch. Please keep it up. Well, what's funny about that, thank you, first of all, Michael, for the compliment. What I learned, I think Ryan at 60 Cycle Hum said it once on a live show. I think he's on a podcast. I don't know what I heard it. I know he was on the chat earlier in here. He was talking about the fact that disclosing seems to cause more drama than it. Basically what he said was he discloses, as you know, when a company is sponsoring a video, and what he finds is then the trolls kind of pound him for it. What I found over the years is exactly that. I watch the channels that don't disclose anything. I don't see any negative comments in their videos. It's like, you guys know, people don't think about it until you say it. And then people will be like, well, if they send it to you, how do we know if it's any good? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. What I can tell you is I do 50 reviews a year. I can't buy 50 products. And it's just not possible. Not at this. And think of this. Think about 323,000 subscribers. There's just no physical way you could do that. You could buy all those products. And if you look at my videos, you'll see not a huge amount of them are actually sponsored videos. So it's, you can get away with a lot of it. And I've said this before, in a perfect world, no companies would be involved. That's the perfect world. But here's the reality of this. Like these super chats that you get and all this stuff. The reality is we're on a platform, and the platform is no different than Spotify. It doesn't pay very much. We're lucky to get what we get, and there's a lot of competition for it. So it gets divided up. Channels getting 30 to 50,000 views, 10,000 views, 500 views. I mean, look at small channels. I mean, it's almost impossible. Everybody says the same thing when they start doing this, and the small channels will definitely feel this pain. They'll say, review the gear you have. Well, okay. And then hopefully by then you're either making money and or a company sending out gear. And some people say, some people say, just, I don't know, just pay for it yourself. I'm like, okay, it's great. However, that's tough, right? Like I said, and I say that because I'm able to do it. That's why I say, when I say it's tough, it's not like I can't do it and you guys don't understand how hard it is. I absolutely can do it. Like I said, I just bought a $1,400 Dean Zelinsky guitar to put on the channel to review. And here's the irony of this. They're going to get the promotion out of this. I actually made a joke once, and it didn't go over well. I was talking about being a comedian with some other YouTube channels when I said, sometimes I feel like I'm subsidizing $1 million companies' marketing budgets by doing all this content for them for free. And, that's sometimes how it feels, because that ultimately we just want to talk about gear, but that result is sometimes you guys buy the gear and they benefit from it. So, Mojo Resin said, it would take me about 15 minutes to review gear. It takes me on average 2 days to make a video. And what I will tell you, and I, again, don't mean that, just like I like the comment. That's why I grabbed it, Mojo. I grabbed it because A 5-minute video, 10, 15-minute video, for the most part, looks like it's, like I said, it takes 15 minutes. And the problem is, it's not the thing that you don't consider is it's the size of your viewership that changes how the video is done. When I first started, I could knock out videos. I would just film myself. I didn't do any edits. I didn't even do any retakes. I just talked about the gear. The problem is for me, it was 100,000 subscribers. That was the real first wave of people that would just hit the comment sections hard, like 100,000 subscribers and you can't have a decent microphone, or you couldn't do, right? They would just hammer you. And the problem is they're right. The worst troll comments are right. The ones were like, oh, that was, oh, you missaid that. It was really 1.5 and you said 1.6. And it's because you used to make it and, make the video and put it out. And now, now you got to really kind of go through, what did I say? This information is for life. You know what I mean? So it's a little different of a process. So back to Michael's comment about the disclosure things. I really do take it seriously, because it's not just because one's the law. It's really about understanding, like I said, what was I want you to know what was my reason for making the video. Not whether or not I tell the truth when a company sends a product, or whether I tell the truth when a company doesn't send a product and I pay for the product. I don't care about that stuff. What I care about is that why was the video created in the first part, right? In fact, sometimes I say that flat out in the video, like, hey, this company sent this out, but I requested it. To me, you guys, some of you may not care about that. To me, it means everything. At this point, if your channel gets to a certain size and you're able to make a phone call and say, hey, look, I want to review the new whatever phones, and I'm just using this example, whatever phone that's cool, and you have a viewership for it, send this phone out. That to me is a powerful thing, because it does show that I'm interested in the phone and I want to talk about it. Not that a company says, hey, we have a great idea, why don't you do our video about our phone? Michael says it all sounds very stressful. It's not. That's not the stressful part. It's not. The only stressful part, the stressful part for me, the stressful part of me on YouTube is there is no break from YouTube. You have to continually put out videos. Has nothing to do with money. Has to do with the fact that, has nothing to do with you needing channel growth. Has to do with how YouTube punishes you for not making content. You are punished. And here's what I mean by that. You don't make content. When you put out content, it activates less of your audience. They notify less people. They push it back. They make it harder for you guys to see it. And the problem with that is you feel like you have to put the same amount of work in every video. So you want as many people to see as possible. So looking at the clock. Okay. I'm just looking at some of you guys' comments. All right. But that's it. But like I said, thank you so much, Michael, for that compliment. Then let's button up these. I feel like the last one is Christopher Jones. So we have Mike says, this is a different Mike. This is Mike, not Michael. Mike says, tried the red dirt pedal after you mentioned it, bought it, and it's the best sounding overdrive pedal I've ever had. I agree. I love that pedal so much. I think there's two versions of it, and but the one I have is I don't know. I keep seeing one that's different than the one I have. But like I said, I was at a Guitar Center, and a viewer came up to me and just was talking. I shouldn't say viewer, but someone who knew the channel came up to me and we're talking, and they just would not stop talking about that pedal and how great it is, and they gig every week, and how could I not review it? And it's so great. And I got it, and man, it just really brings, just like a tube screamer brings the Marshalls alive. That red dirt really brings my Friedmans alive. It's like EQ'd correctly for the Friedmans. To me, the red dirt and a Friedman is the tube screamer Marshall equivalent. It just does something. It's like just magical. Aaron Short Music. What's up, Aaron Short? I should have worn my Soundhole Sniffer shirt. It says, Happy New Year. I'm curious, is your Kemper powered or unpowered? Hope to see you in person this year. Oh, man. I hate this question so much, Aaron. I hate this question. I always say, you guys can ask me anything and I'll tell you the answer. This is why I hate the question. I have 2 Kempers now since you asked, and I have a powered and I have an unpowered. So the reality is, how did it come up? How did somebody say, let's sponsor a video and you talk about your Kemper rig? Here's how it came up. I've had a Kemper. So what I said was true. I've had a Kemper for 2 years, unpowered. I just bought a few months ago a Kemper powered. So I'm going to probably get rid of the other Kemper at some point. Right now, it's just kind of nice. So what happened is in the video, when I said, hey, I use that Kemper that's unpowered, and I run it through 2 studio monitors, that is correct. But what recently I did, not since that video, before that video, I had bought a powered Kemper. But that isn't the rig I used all the time. The rig I used all the time was the unpowered Kemper. So the question is, which one do I have? I have both. Which one do I like better? I like the powered. Here's why, Aaron. Here's how I use my Kemper. The way I use my Kemper is going to make some of you nuts. Okay? I mean, really nuts. Right now. I'm going to warn you. If you have a Kemper Axe Effects fetish, if you have a thing and it bugs you when people do weird things with the thing that you love, you might want to go get a drink or something, because you're not going to want to hear what I'm going to say. Because this is how I run my Kemper. I run the Kemper exactly like I said in that video. I run it right into 2 studio monitors. That's how I run it in the bedroom. That's the other room I told you I play in all the time. However, what I've learned is there's a way I like to run my Kemper here in the room, which is I run it through a 212 Marshall cabinet with 2 vintage 30s. I do not run it through FR cabinets. I don't run it through a Kemper cabinet with some kind of response. I don't run the Celestians that are that way. I run it exactly like I said. I'm running the Kemper as my small box 50 head. This is what I do. I literally plug my small box 50 head into the cabinet. I set it up. I play it. I get it to the sweet spot that I love. Then I take it off the cabinet. I put the Kemper on the cabinet with my Kemper profile of that amp, and I find that spot to where they sound almost identical. So all I'm doing is playing a Kemper version of my small box 50 head, which is stupid. Well, maybe it's not stupid, but here's the part that makes people nuts. Then when I record my Kemper, I run it into the Captor X. And I run it just like I said, I'm using my Kemper like it's just my small box 50. To me, the Kemper head for me is like a low wattage, like if Friedman made a 20 watt, because you don't say the Pink Taco because it's not the same. Because it doesn't have 2 channels, and it's not it's a higher gain, but mostly it just doesn't have the 2 full channels. And you could technically say the Runt, because I think the Runt is very close, but I really like the small box head for some reason. As you guys know, I'm a huge Dirty Shirley fan too as well, and I have that amp, but for some reason the small box for recording has been just amazing. So for recording, I've been using small box, but I'm using the Kemper into the Captor X, which I have a friend who's a Kemper guy, and I guess an artist or whatever. Dude, he's just loses his mind because he's like, it's in the Kemper. Why don't you use it the way in the Kemper? You don't need the Captor. I'm like, because I run them the same. So there you go. And then I run all the pedals in front of the Kemper like I do in front of my small box. So that's the answer. But I like I said, I recently upgraded to the power one, I should say, the powered one. Just because. I like it. I think I wish I would have got that one first. Matt Wells says, hey, Phil, just ordered the Ibanez Jiva, right? Jiva. I know it's Jiva. It's the Jiva. Jiva Junior. Will be my first guitar with locking bridge and nut. Your thoughts on the Ibanez Edge 2.0 trim? How similar, different is it to Floyd's? It's better. Setup and restring, it's better. I like all the Ibanez Floyds, or Ibanez tremolos better than Floyd. That's just me. Let the internet go crazy with that. That's for me setting them up, for just like setting them up there faster. Let me see. You said which one does it have? Low press 02, Edge 02. Edge 02. I need to look because Ibanez does this thing that I absolutely love. You know what? I just look at the Jiva Junior. Okay. What I love about Ibanez, and I'm just confirming, is a lot of times I'm looking at the bridge right now. So this bridge is pretty straightforward. It's basically just like the Floyd. It's not much different. Sometimes they have ones with the backs where they have the adjustments in the back that I actually prefer. That's what I said. Some of the things I like about Ibanez is some of their bridges, like I said, they've really upped the game. You know what I mean, with some of the devices in the back. Lauren says the Edge, Ibanez Edge rules. Yeah. You know what it is? I love the Floyd Rose bridges, but yeah, I like the Ibanez better. So I think you'd be fine. Matt says, another Matt. There was Matt Wells, now it's Matt Scott. Matt Scott says, I'm trying to get into bass. What is a good amp for blues rock that can do small venue gigs? I would just stick with the Fender Rumble stuff. That's kind of the thing I recommend. I mean, they're super cheap. They're super good. I mean, if you're not looking for, if you want something to take to a gig that's super light, super affordable, I think the Rumble stuff is I mean, it's hard to beat. I mean, I could tell you, like, I like Hartke a lot. I like the tone of the Hartke stuff. I like, what else? I mean, besides expensive stuff, there's always expensive rigs too. But for bass amps, I really like Hartke, but I recommend the Fender Rumbles just because very good stuff and very inexpensive for the price point, especially if you pick one up used, built really well. And like I said, they're ridiculously light. It's just fun. Anthony says, I believe, by the way, I think those amps and amps like that, especially like, Fender, they killed the bass amp market. That was a perfect example. Like there was a lot of, like somebody said, the TC amp stuff is great. I've tried that. It's really good. That's what I said. There's so much good stuff. Bass amps are really fun because the inexpensive bass amps just killed the high-end bass amp market like crazy. You used to be able to get, SWR or Jens or Jens Benz. And, there was, just tons of high-end bass amp companies, and they all just started toppling over because, think about this. I don't even take a bass amp anymore. I take a bass preamp in my bass. I have to be at a situation where they don't have an amp, or a stage monitor. But if they have anything I can use, I'll just take my preamp. Anthony says, my favorite Gibson is a Les Paul Tribute I bought for $800. Oh, okay. Absolutely. Well, here's the thing. Kind of like spoiler alert on the Gibson Custom Shop RO video. I basically say that. I say that, I studio, a tribute, a standard, classic. They are all the same to me. I couldn't tell you that it was leagues better than anything else. That's kind of where I went with it after trying it out. Wayne says, what did you think of the Maestro teaser Gibson put out? Oh, the Maestro, the pedals, right? Gibson's teasing about the pedals. I know that there's people super into those pedals, obviously. And I think it's cool that they're reissuing that stuff. You know what I mean? Or coming up with new versions or are dabbling into that brand again, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, it's not on my radar of gear, but, for me to buy, but it's one of those things, like if you got enough, you guys requesting it, I would definitely get it on the channel, but, it's tough for me. Like I'm trying to get back into pedals more and more. I find that the channel got to a weird spot because I didn't do a whole lot of pedal videos. The pedal companies really just backed off. Wasn't doing a whole lot of them because I'm selective about the ones I do. And then there's just so many pedal channels out there. They just weren't reaching out, and they weren't reaching out, and I wasn't reaching out. So all of a sudden it went from I only do one pedal video a month, which was 12 a year, and to I think last year I did 3, and the year before that I did 2 or 3. So, I'm not even doing a pedal a quarter now. So yeah, and it's not for any particular reason. Then my video schedule is pretty simple. There's a live show, and then there's videos like I'm interested in what I'm doing. So I put them on my schedule. Go, okay, I want to do a video about this, or I want to talk about this product, or like the 50 states video. Like I want to talk about 50 guitar builders in 50 states. Those are videos I wanted to do. And then there's videos that people request, and I try to do requested videos. Like, okay, I got a lot of people asking about the new this, and then there's company request videos like PRS saying, hey, we're going to be dropping the Silver Sky SE. Do you want to do a video of one? And between all that, your schedule's pretty full. So there's no time for me to reach out and go, oh, hey, would you like to have a product on the channel? So that's what I said. It's been a while since I've actively had to work at trying to get content on the channel. Years. Even during COVID, where I think there was a slowdown in some of the companies that are reaching out, I haven't I'm always behind. Think of this on this channel, on the live show, I spend every week apologizing for the videos that are out yet. But yeah, I saw the tease of it and I thought it was pretty cool. Meester says talented singer guitarist Dean Del Rey became a stand-up comic, and his veteran comic pal Mark Marins playing guitar at shows. Oh, that's cool to know. Yeah, like I said, I watch an insane amount of stand-up comedy, like insane. It's insane. I watch every, and I love new comics that suck. And I really mean that. I like watching people hone their craft. I don't want to say forced. That may be too strong of a word, but I basically got my wife and my daughter to watch. We watched like 12 or 15 stand-up comedians last week. All new upcomers. And I'm not going to lie, man, it was pretty brutal. There was a lot of not great content in there, their stand-ups, but man, when it was right, it was great. But like I said, my wife and daughter started seeing what I was talking about for years, which is you can see them working out the content, where when you only watch the greats, when you're only watching, Richard Pryor, when you're only watching George Carlin, when you're only watching the greats, when you only watch John Mulaney, the newer ones that are great, when you watch them, these are honed, talented. It's like sometimes people lose the art of an upcoming band, right? Wasn't it great going to a club and seeing a band that was good but not great yet? It's and so I love that. And so the same thing with stand-up comedians. I like watching them when they hone the craft. Joe says, Phil, Happy New Year. Why do people sell Fender CS bodies and necks on Stratosphere? Is that a waste of money for a build? He's talking about custom shop bodies and necks. Well, Stratosphere sells every kind of part. No, I think it's because, I just hit the table. I think it's because, obviously people want to build parts casters. Look, almost half, I'm just making up numbers. A lot of guitar heroes played some kind of hybrid Frankenstein parts casters. Obviously, Eddie Van Halen made it, is most well known for it. But let's be clear, they all have this. I mean, Pete Townsend wasn't playing Tellys; he was playing Schecter parts guitars. You know what I mean? They're all notoriously known for this because a lot of reasons, sometimes just economic reasons. They could build themselves a guitar they couldn't afford. That's the same reason why. It's a journeyman 60s Strat custom shop's $4,100. That's before whatever price increase happened in this month. $4,100 for a Strat, a custom shop. The question is, can you build one cheaper than that? You can. And so you can get parts and do it. That's one of them. And two, it's like I said, there's a unique cost money. And if you want unique, and that's why when I talk about videos like where we fix up cheaper guitars, that's what I'm basically getting at. Like, look, some people care about it. You may not care. Some people don't care if their guitar is unique, but some people like to have a guitar that's really like them. You know what I mean? It's to their taste and to the, and sometimes putting together your own guitar just does it. Lauren said 80% of statistics are made up on the spot. I agree. I think that's at least within 5-10%. That's funny. Okay. I got to get to this last one so we can talk about the last thing we got to talk about. Okay. So, McDowley says, Dowley, there's a lot of L's and a Y on there. Says, they live in a super rural area. Thanks for sharing wisdom that allowed me to make wise, fun gear choices while buying online. Thank you so much for that. That is, again, those are the comments that range, that really hit me the most. Obviously, when I hear like, oh, thanks for showing me how to fix a thing. But I love it when you guys say like, oh, thanks for, like, I made some choices based on some reviews. Again, that's important to me because that's the stuff that I get nervous about. You know, when I'm like, I do a video and I look back and I go, you know, did it give, you know, 'cause you're trying to find the balance. I want to say the things I love about the instrument, but I also want you to have I want you to get what you expect if you watch a video. And I don't expect that you watch only my videos of a review. I expect you watch a bunch, but I would like mine to be the one that when you said, okay, I pulled the trigger on that and you're right. It was as good as you said it was, or it had the issue you thought, but it's still good. Or so very cool. And as the channel grows, that becomes tougher to deal with because of the fact that companies, as they know there's more eyeballs on the video, companies do get a little weird with you with sending you, like I said, cherry-picked product. By the way, most of the time they don't. Like I said, most companies send you stuff and you're like, why the hell would you send this? Didn't you know I was going to show it to people? Like, what are you thinking? That happens more than not. But when they cherry pick stuff, that sucks. But I tell you guys over and over again, if somebody sends me a product and it's amazing and I say it's amazing, and you don't get that product, then you tell them. You use my videos. Hey, I bought it because of this guy, and what's up? And let them tell you to their face. Like, oh, he just made all that up. That's how they come. I don't know why his was so special. I'd love to hear him say that. I'd have something to say about that too. I'm Not Old Vintage. Thank you so much for I think it's I always like the stickers. It's definitely some kind of hippopotamus. We're going to call it a funkopotamus. Dave says, GT1000, want to go to 4CM gigging musician and cover country rock metal. Okay, I want to get to the source of this question. It says hard rock in the same night, Mesa 525, 35, or something else. So are you asking me, should you get a GT1000 from Boss and a Mesa amp? Yes. I can tell you right now, the Mesa 525 or 535 will cover all the genres you talk. It's loud and it's small. It's a legitimate amp. And the GT1000 will cover all those sounds as well. So good choice. Good. So Christopher Jones says, why doesn't Fender make USA solid wood acoustics? They have tried. They did not do well. And the reason is because you gotta understand, companies, if they can't make a market, if they can't break into the market, they buy a market. Fender has bought that market. That's why they bought Guild. They bought Guild. Well, remember, they bought Tacoma first. They bought Tacoma guitars, which were in Washington. And shortly after that, they bought Guild. And when they bought Guild, they started making Guild in the Fender factory, and that didn't go so great, by the way. And so then what they did was they decided that, what did they decide? They decided that the Washington factory was rented, and so they just got the lease lapse, and then they stopped making the Tacomas there, and Tacoma went away. And then they started making the Guilds in the new Guild facility. I think it was in Connecticut, right? Something like that. No, that's not what they did. They bought Ovation. That's what Fender did. They bought Ovation Hamer. So remember, so you understand, Fender wanted the acoustic market, so they buy Tacoma instruments. Tacoma is very niche because it was no finishes on their instruments. As you know, their big thing was the Thunder Chief, which is like a baritone bass, a baritone guitar, and a bass acoustic. Then they acquired Guild, and like I said, that didn't go well. So they shut down Tacoma, and then they bought Ovation and Hamer, which was in Connecticut, and then they moved Guild to the Ovation facility, made only a couple models of Ovation there, and of course the Guild. And this was all to kind of do this. And then they made some high-end Fender acoustics as well. And those didn't do well because the market's not, look, the problem is I said this once, a bad year for my store. I went to the NAMM show the year that PRS started making acoustics. He was making high-end acoustics, and we were like a premium PRS dealer at the time. And they were like, "Oh, if you want to continue your premium thing, you have to carry our acoustics." And I was like, I was just so distraught because I'm like, the last thing I wanted in the shop was $4,000 PRS acoustics, because to me, I'm like, you can buy Taylor's, you can buy Martin's. So I go to Taylor. I had my meeting with Taylor. We weren't a Taylor dealer. We're going to get Taylor and add it to the store. And I got my meeting with Taylor, and Taylor's like, okay, great. Here's your buy. And you buy these acoustics. Oh, and our new line of electrics. And they showed me electrics. And I remember losing it for a second going, dude, I just left PRS. I'm like, I don't want his acoustics and I don't want your electrics. I want his electrics and your acoustics. That's what sells. And they were like, no. And I'll never remember this because when I told the Taylor guy, he was like, no, these are going to be great. And I said, the whole point of buying a Taylor guitar for your stores, it's a proven product. So you have a proven product that's got a track record that's good and it's quality and people want to buy it. And now to be a dealer, I got to carry this stuff. You don't even know if anyone's going to buy this. And my gut says no one wants a Taylor electric guitar like they want a Taylor acoustic. And so I ended up not carrying Taylor that year, and I did not update my status with PRS, so I dropped in whatever dealer status because I didn't dig the acoustics. I personally feel both of those did not do well. In other words, PRS now just does the import acoustics, and I'm sure Taylor still is dabbling in the electrics a little bit. I haven't seen, but let's just say I don't see anybody with them. Nothing wrong with them all trying that, but they were trying it with my dime and I didn't want to do it because that's how it works. You buy the gear. So I got to buy their stuff. Right. So what I'm getting to with your question is the same thing with Fender. Look, Fender can sell a $2,000. Hey, Fender can sell a $4,000 custom shop Strat. They can take a Strat that you can buy for $1,000, beat it up and make it $4,000. But selling an acoustic is a different animal. Acoustic players are not necessarily Fender players and vice versa. They might, you know what I mean? So that's why I don't think they did it. I don't think they do it because it didn't do well. And obviously they didn't do well with those other acoustic brands. That's why they don't own any of them. Fender no longer owns Ovation. They don't own Guild. Tacoma is a shelf brand. They probably still own Tacoma Instruments, but it's a brand that's just a name, and it's, again, they own it probably, and they're not making any product underneath it. So that's why. Okay, on that note, we'll finish up right now with the Silver Sky. What was we said we'd talk about it at the end. My video will be out on the 11th. That's pretty much the easy part. If you guys haven't noticed, if you look at the spec sheets, you'll see what they changed. This version has the differences that are disclosed. Again, everything I'm telling you is disclosed. It has a poplar body. That's different on this model. Has a 2-point tremolo, but the tremolo looks identical to the PRS Silver Sky US model, but it's 2 points instead of 6 screws tremolo. I prefer this bridge. I don't think it stays in tune better or anything. I just like it aesthetically. This has an 8.5 radius fretboard, where the Silver Sky Core has a 7 1/4, and I prefer this fretboard. And I can tell you right now, when they sent me the guitar, they didn't send me spec sheet on it. So I did what I always do, in the videos. I get out the tools and check everything. And mine kind of looks like a 9.5 to 10. And that could be just, when I'm looking at it with, my eyes and not catching that it's an 8.5 to 9.5 or whatever. But also it could be that this person who sanded my fretboard is a little heavy handed, and it's not hard to flatten out a fretboard, even with a radius block, very quickly. So mine feels very flat, comparatively speaking, but I can tell you right now, man, I like it way more than the 7 1/4. That was my only thing I didn't like about the Core. I didn't like the 7 1/4. It's the only drawback, and that's what I love about this. Hold on, what else? What are the other things that are important? They use the same knobs, looks same switch tip. The question on the pickups, I think the pickups sound great. I have not compared them to the USA one, but here's what I can tell you: plugging it in, I didn't feel the need to. And that's usually what I tell everybody is the big deal, right? If you plug in, you went, right? Let's check them. But it does not have, Brad Guitar says, does it have locking keys? It does not have locking keys. You can see that again in the pictures. If you go to guitarworld.com and look at it, they have full detailed pictures of the Silver Skies SEs that they've put out there. Like I said, it's like Aaron Short Music said, it's $850 for the guitar. So very cool. And there's no finish on the neck. So if that helps when feeling it, I really like it. The review I think will come across. You can imagine. I don't think anyone's going to have an issue with it. If you like the Core one, which is $2,500, this is exactly, remember last week we were talking about pricing? This is exactly what I said. It's like 30% of the Core price is where this lands on the street. About maybe 33%. I think when I added it up, 33% of the price. Substantially cheaper for a guitar that feels and looks almost the same. One of the things that a lot of you probably will talk about, probably there'll be lots of discussion about the pickups. that's great. But in my mind, I wouldn't care even if the pickups didn't sound good, because at this price point, I kind of would like just putting in my own pickups. I mean, my own being not mine personally, but maybe just questions pickups I like. And then Brian said the question earlier was, does it hold up to the Sterling CT50? Yeah, I would say they are identical in quality. I couldn't necessarily say this is better in quality. It's definitely not worse. It's the same, if not better. But yes, there is a price difference. This is more expensive than the CT50. But the big difference is the neck on this is like the Core PRS. I know it keeps saying Core, and so for the record, the Silver Sky USA model is not a Core guitar. I think it's considered a bolt-on or whatever. But Brian says $850 plus what you may pay for better pickups. I never liked the humbuckers, sounded thin. I'm curious about the S single coils. Yeah. Again, you know what? I would say, I would, like I said, I plugged into it, and when I was playing it, I liked it. I'm trying to think what's going to be in the video. Mostly in the video, I'm going to just go through is, obviously, you can imagine, I'm going to go through the guitar and let you see the quality aspects of it. But the thing I can tell you that might be helpful is, and this is probably for all you dedicated people that stay at the end of the live show and stuff. My understanding is they're here. They have them. That's just an understanding I have. I don't know if that for sure, but that's the impression that was definitely given to me, was this isn't like a, YouTubers tease it and then 3-5 months later they're here. I can tell you that a patron reached out to me of the channel and said that they literally because I was talking about I can't talk about anything. They said they literally called Sweetwater, asked the Sweetwater rep, and the Sweetwater rep not only confirmed that they existed. This is before the announcement of Guitar World. They not only confirmed that, they let them do a pre-order on it. So if you want one, I can tell you that you can do the pre-order on it. And they have return, policy at Sweetwater. So if you get it and you don't like it, I would say if you have the scratch to buy it and you're thinking you might want it and you don't want to work, I would imagine they're going to have them and then they're going to run out, because that's just how everything works now. So I would imagine if you're trying to get one, I would probably put one on order before the 11th. Anybody who's willing to let you do that or are allowed to do it, or just put them on order that day. And I would imagine that if you put them on pre-order, you're going to get it once the announcement happens, they start, launching out kind of thing. It won't be months. That's just my understanding. And again, I've been like you guys. I've been all over the internet. Only difference is when everybody was all speculating, I had one, so I knew. I just couldn't talk about it. Now there's way more information than I have out there, and I've been trying to hold true to not talking about it. Like I said, I wouldn't even have showed it, but it's literally on PRS's Instagram, a picture of me with it. So I'm like, I don't know how I could. You weren't supposed to show it. Well, you did. Just kidding. So you guys know I have one if you went on the Instagram, is what I'm saying. Chris Hunter says, hey, Phil, what's your opinion on poplar bodies? My guess, and I'm really interested in if John, when he does his video, will talk about this. My guess is there was probably picked for consistency and price. So consistency being more consistent weight. Alder's usually pretty consistent weight too, but poplar's a lot easier on the machining. So I'm sure it was look, I'm really shocked at how much, because it comes with a gig bag, by the way, too. It comes with a nice gig bag. It's the SE gig bag that you all know. It's the old style one, if you guys remember that one. Meaning not different in design than new ones, different in color, if you remember the old ones. So it comes with a gig bag, which is nice because, that's a good value. It's made in Indonesia because it's made by Cortec. That's who makes all the SEs. But my guess is they had to, get the price. You know what I mean? It was just, I think we were all impressed with the price. I was thinking, it would probably be $1,000, and then I was hoping it would be $799. So $849 is a great compromise. I'd rather it be $50 more than I hoped it would be than $50 from what I hoped it wouldn't be. So, yeah, I'm vintage. Said I wanted a Nebula and they were gone in 30 minutes. Yeah, it's really cool. I think it's a really cool idea. We all been, hoping they would do this, the SE. It's been anyone who's interested in it. Look, you know, I mean, if if you're not going to buy the American one for $2,500, I mean, this is definitely worth it. It's obviously very close to the same thing. I think what I find impressive is looking at it, in person. It's really hard to tell that it's not everything. I mean, it says SE, I think, on the headstock. Yeah, it says SE on the headstock and it says SE on the backplate. But other than that, I mean, it looks legit. It's not like some of the SEs where you're like, the carves are different. I was thinking the carves would be different. Something would be different. It would have a regular switch tip like SEs do. They don't give you the PRS flat tip. And it would, how PRSs put the lampshade knobs on the cores, but then on the SEs, they put speed knobs. This has the same knobs as the Silver Sky American one, which you can see in the pictures. Like I said, I would definitely go to GuitarWorld.com's website if you're thinking about getting one. It has the entire spec sheet on there, all the specifications, everything, pictures, the 4 colors it comes in. So and then Robert says, hey, ever think about doing a best guitar and amp for $500 video again? I would. What's funny was that was presented to me by so many of you guys. And I said, oh, that would be really great. And then I go, what would even be better would be go to a store and do it. And there was no inventory. So now as inventory comes in, I would like to do that video again, especially updated with inflation. What would you do? And, see. And this time also maybe not buy used. Maybe only have to buy new or something. Okay. Spawns 72 says poly finish. Yeah, it's a polyurethane finish. They don't do nitro overseas that I've seen on any of the PRS imports. It's the same kind of finish. So the original Silver Sky USA guitars were poly as well, basically. PRS switched to nitro in 2020 during COVID. This is when the conversion happened, and that's when it changed. So if you have a Silver Sky give me a gray area here. I'm going to say June of 2020. If you have one pre-June of 2020, it's probably not lacquer anyways. It's probably poly. But like I said, if we can end on one note on the Silver Sky that I can tell you that might be useful that to you guys is if you're thinking about getting one, like I said, I would reach out to your whatever retailers you trust and know. And I would imagine that it's not going to be, like I said, it's not going to take forever before they have them, because I kind of got the vibe. To have it. And then Dave said, using the GT1000 with Duncan Power Stage and 212 V30s, you didn't try to steer me away from 525. Hello. Awesome. Thanks. All right. We went long today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you guys have a great weekend. As always, please look for the videos I got coming out. I got a bunch coming out. Obviously, Silver Sky SE is definitely one coming up on the 11th. And like I said, all the questions you can imagine, I'll try to go through. If there's anything specific that you're like, I gotta know and I want in that video, and I maybe don't feel bad. Send it to the PMcKnight7 email address or Ask Know Your Gear. Like I said, I normally don't respond. I don't get to respond to everything. I try to, but if I see it, I will definitely open it, look at it. And if it's something that, I'm like, oh, I already did that, no problem. But if it's something like, oh, I didn't think of that, it'll definitely be in the video. So if there's any specific questions, don't feel bad, because I can edit I edit sometimes videos up until the last 30 minutes before I upload them on YouTube. So I'll have the core and I'll just keep tapping and doing stuff because, I just go and recut in more footage. So on that note, thank you guys so much. You guys have an amazing weekend. As always, thank you for your time and know your gear.